Chapter 845. Escape 1. Just as the blue-robed scholar was being restrained, Bei Mingshu's moonlight divine sword shot out. Suddenly, the moonlight divine sword burst out with a moonlight-like sword light. The sword light was still like moonlight, and its speed ignored the distance between space and time. It entered the glacier and bombarded the blue-robed scholar's body fiercely. Wind shadow. Just as the sword light landed on the glacier, the blue-robed scholar in the glacier reacted. Destructive true essence exploded out. The moment the sword light hit his body, his entire body turned into a shadow and left the glacier like a breeze. Gotcha! Crash! In the face of the destructive sword light, the glacier could no longer withstand the heaven-defying pressure of the sword light. It could no longer withstand the tearing force of the martial god and finally exploded. The glaciers in the sky and the frozen sea turned into fragments at this moment. The sea regained its calm. Moonlight shadows. Sword rain. Heaven extreme tyrant emperor saber desolate 10 consecutive slashes. Once the battle began, there was no possibility of stopping. Fighting with such a monstrous martial god expert, the slightest distraction would dissipate into thin air. The first move was almost flawless, but in front of the martial god, it completely missed. Taking advantage of the fact that his opponent had yet to attack, Bei Mingshu swung her moonlight divine sword once more. At the same time, Li Lingtian unleashed his celestial extreme tyrant saber. Instantly, a shocking saber intent appeared and 10 saber flares slashed down from the sky. At this moment, Xuenyuan Yingying activated her 5-element sacred body as well. The destructive metal will of the Wei was augmented by Li Lingshan's blade radiance. Instantly, 10 saber flares and thousands of sword raindrops crisscrossed in the sky above the sea. When the three of them attacked, their joint attack could be said to be flawless. The golden body is not damaged, and the power of the martial god is added to the body. The azure-robed layman never expected Li Lingtian and the other two to be so terrifying. They were not some pretty boy at all. They were not inferior to the martial god powerhouses at all. Destructive attacks and miraculous methods almost caused him to die. The first move had forced him to cast Shadow Breeze to escape the disaster. However, just as he turned into a shadow, Li Lingtian and the other man's destructive attack came at him again. Immediately, the blue-robed scholar cursed in his heart. What kind of low-level martial artist was this? They were 3 freaks. Looking at the space that was almost torn apart, the destructive sword rain and saber light had already arrived in front of him. It was already too late to dodge, so he could only use the martial god's strongest defense to block this move. As long as he could block this move, he would use a heaven-defying divine ability to eliminate the 3 of them. When the golden body was unleashed, his entire body was like a golden Buddha statue. The power of the martial god was also unleashed at this moment. Boom! Gotcha, gotcha! In the blink of an eye, Bei Mingshu and Li Lingshan's attacks had already landed on the layman in indigo. A shocking explosion immediately erupted. The blue-robed scholar's body kept trembling as he endured the bombardment of the saber light and sword rain. Roar! At this moment, the azure-robed scholar let out a roar, and a terrifying martial god's power erupted. The saber light and sword rain were blasted away. Hush Li Lingtian and the other 2 retreated rapidly with horrified expressions on their faces. They did not expect the other party to be able to withstand a peerless divine artifact and a heaven-grade divine ability so forcefully. He even repelled the 3 of them. The strength of a martial god was indeed not something that a martial saint could imagine. Moreover, Bei Mingshu was a first-layered heaven martial god expert, and she was using the Baiming family's peerless divine artifact. Even so, the 3 of them couldn't hurt the blue-robed scholar. Tisk! Unexpectedly, when Li Lingtian and the other 2 were repelled, a strange aura penetrated Li Lingshan's arm without any warning. A tiny hole appeared on Li Lingshan's arm. The tiny hole was emitting a mysterious aura that was constantly eroding Li Lingshan's meridians and true essence. Li Lingshan's expression changed drastically when he saw this. Bei Mingshu and Xuenyuan Yingying were also shocked. This situation had completely exceeded their expectations. This was the first time Li Lingtian had been injured by such an attack since he started his cultivation. Moreover, he was injured without anyone noticing. How could they not be shocked? Swoosh, swoosh. Seeing the injury on his arm, Li Lingtian quickly used his other hand to cast a series of hand seals in an attempt to stabilize his injury. However, no matter what technique he used, he could not expel this mysterious aura. Instead, it became more and more powerful. Li Lingtian was shocked to see this. Just now, he was not prepared at all and was attacked by this aura. Fortunately, the instinct of an expert made him forcefully move a little, which avoided the fatal blow. If it had hit his chest, glabella or dantian, he would have died by now. How is it? Bei Minxue and Shenyuan Yingying asked in unison, their faces filled with anxiety. The opponent was so powerful that even Li Lingtian was injured. It was truly unimaginable. Furthermore, the situation was not looking good. The martial god powerhouse was still eyeing them like a tiger. If it were not for Li Lingtian, the three of them would be finished. It's nothing. Li Lingtian smiled faintly when he saw Shenyuan Yingying and Bei Mingsu's anxious expressions. Then, he looked at the blue-robed scholar in the distance and was extremely shocked. The third level of the martial god realm was indeed not something that ordinary martial gods could compare to. He was at the second sky of the martial saint realm. It was simply courting death for him to encounter such a martial god expert. However, the blue-robed scholar didn't look that good either. Although the destructive saber light and sword rain didn't hurt him, he looked extremely ugly. Humph, Junior, you do have some skills, but it's already over. Die. The azure-robed layman was shocked to see Li Lingtian dodge his fatal blow. However, as long as one was hit by this attack, not to mention a martial saint, even a martial god would lose half their life if they did not die. When the three of them joined forces just now, he felt the threat of death. He was extremely unhappy with this feeling, and had already developed killing intent towards the three of them. Go back to the Divine Dragon Ring. I'll take you guys away first. Li Lingtian noticed that the blue-robed layman's true essence was already circulating, and it seemed like he was about to unleash his ultimate move. The situation was not looking good, so he had to leave first. With that, he activated the Divine Dragon Ring with his divine sense. He immediately called the two of them into the Divine Dragon Ring and looked at the blue-robed scholar coldly. When he saw the blue-robed scholar, his expression changed drastically. A blood-red light appeared in the blue-robed scholar's hand, and the light continuously devoured the spiritual qi in the space. Li Lingtian felt a sudden sense of discomfort at the sight of the blood-red radiance. True dragon qi. All the vital essence in his body disappeared, and the true dragon qi in the Divine Dragon Ring entered his body. Immediately, a terrifying dragon qi appeared. The true dragon body barrier was used to block the pressure in the air. True dragon body protection, 6th level, Yinglong power, incarnation. Li Lingshan's eyes twitched when he sensed the aura of death in the space. The blood-red radiance continued to surge, and in an instant, the destructive blood-red radiance came crashing down on him. The appearance of the blood-red light caused the space to tremble. Arcs of light appeared in the sky, flashing like lightning. At that moment, Li Lingtian dared not hesitate anymore. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he unleashed the shocking true dragon body barrier. Roar! A roar sounded, and the earth-shattering roar shook the sea. 1,000-meter-long winged dragon appeared in the air and flapped its 100-meter-long wings. At that moment, Li Lingtian did not try to resist the blood-red radiance. Instead, he flapped his gigantic wings. Kacha! Boom! Roar! With a flap of its wings, it traveled 1,000 miles in an instant. The huge Yinglong body had already disappeared into the air. However, when it disappeared, the sound of space tearing sounded, followed by an explosion. Screams sounded and gradually disappeared in the air. Peace was restored above the sea. The azure-robed scholar was enraged when he saw Li Lingshan's trio escaping. Damn it! You are the first to escape from my original Buddha's purgatory. Even if you escape, don't even think about living. The blue-robed scholar looked at the void. While he was furious, he was also extremely shocked. He did not expect a martial saint youth to be so terrifying. His 2 killing moves had been dodged by this youth. If he hadn't been at the 3rd firmament of the war god realm, he would have been killed along with his terrifying defense. Thinking of the terrifying power of the blood purgatory, a cruel smile appeared on his face. Above the boundless sea, there was not a single island or living creature. 1,000-meter-long winged dragon flapped its huge wings. Every time it flapped, it would travel 1,000 miles in an instant, and space would also be torn apart. However, there was a terrible wound on Yinglong's body. There was no blood on the wound, but it was corroded by a strange bloody aura. At this moment, Yinglong spat out a mouthful of blood and his body swayed in the air. After flapping its wings fiercely, its huge body streaked across the void and entered a cloud. However, he used up his last bit of strength and was severely injured. The incarnation could no longer hold on. Just as Yinglong was about to stop, he transformed into Li Lingshan's true form. Li Lingshan's lips were stained with blood and his face was deathly pale. After transforming into his original body, he spat out another mouthful of blood. A finger-sized hole appeared in his chest. The bloody aura continued to corrode his body. Coupled with the injury on his arm, his true essence was rapidly consumed. Divine Dragon Ring. Activate. Looking at the vast sea of fog, Li Lingtian was at a loss for direction. Moreover, he was completely powerless now. It was impossible for him to find a place to rest and recuperate. He activated the Divine Dragon Ring with his divine consciousness. The space trembled slightly as Bei Minxue and the others appeared in front of Li Lingtian. Looking at Li Lingshan's swaying body, the injuries on his chest and arms, and his pale face, they were all shocked beyond words. Without hesitation, Huangfu Yuyan quickly supported Li Lingtian and suspended him in the air. Yun Yaoyao also took out her spaceship, and everyone returned to their new spaceship. I recommend the new book, Ancient Sage Myriad Ancient King. Everyone is welcome to read it and save it. I need everyone's support. Only with everyone's support can the new book go further. Everyone, please collect the Eternal Holy King first. Well, look at it after you've fattened up. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 846. Gathering of Experts. 1. How are you? Where is the blue-robed scholar? Everyone returned to the spaceship. Bei Minxue and the others looked around, feeling a trace of fear towards this vast sea of fog. He was even more wary of the azure-clothed scholar who had injured Li Lingtian. Bei Minxue did not see Layman Qingyi, so she quickly asked Li Lingtian. I was attacked by the blue-robed scholar. I used 1,000 miles in a flash to escape. I wonder if the blue-robed scholar has caught up? You guys drive the flying ship forward first. I need to heal my injuries. Li Lingtian said weakly. In the end, when he felt the frightening attack unleashed by the layman in indigo, he did not dare to defend himself. In fact, he did not have the chance to do so. He could only quickly use the true dragon body protection to escape 1,000 miles in an instant. He kept teleporting along the way, completely disregarding everything. Along the way, he had flown for an unknown number of thousands of miles, and he didn't know if the blue-robed scholar had caught up. However, looking at the current situation, the blue-robed scholar had yet to find him. Moreover, his injuries were extremely serious now. If he did not recuperate in time, he would definitely be destroyed by this injury. All right, you heal your wounds. I'll control the ship. Bei Minxue looked at Li Lingtian. It was her first time seeing Li Lingtian so severely injured. At the same time, she was shocked. Li Lingshan's severe injury was partly due to her. If Li Lingtian had not endured it alone, she would not have been able to withstand the attack of the layman in indigo with her defense alone. Although she was a martial god, her defense was miles ahead of Li Lingshan's. Since Li Lingtian was injured, it was hard to imagine what would happen to her as well. Li Lingtian was able to stand out alone at a time of danger and shelter them from the wind and rain. It was indeed a heart-wrenching sight. A real man and friend would be able to withstand all dangers for you when you were in danger. After saying that, he helped Yun Yaoyao pilot the spaceship, which quickly flew into the clouds. Li Lingtian was helped into the spaceship by Huangfu Yuyan and the others. Huangfu Yuyan, Tang Zhenji, Shunmei Tang Ziming, Qing Ling, and Shenyuan Yingying followed suit. Help me protect my mind. I'll think of a way to treat this injury. Li Lingtian sat cross-legged in the spaceship's room as he spoke to Huangfu Yuyan and the others. This time, he was seriously injured. Internal injuries were nothing, but the injuries on his arms and chest were the main ones. His 2 wounds were being corroded by a strange power. If he didn't get rid of them, he wouldn't be able to recover at all. Not to mention recovering, as long as he circulated his martial arts, his injuries would worsen. Naturally, he didn't dare to let Huangfu Yuyan and the others use their energy to heal him, so he could only think of a way to heal his 2 wounds first. All right. Be careful. Huangfu Yuyan nodded. At the same time, Tang Genji and the others circulated their vital essence. She carefully helped Li Lingtian to protect his mind so that his injuries would not corrode it. Swoosh, swoosh. Li Lingtian closed his eyes slightly and began to ponder on how to resolve this injury. After thinking for a long time, he finally cast a series of hand seals. After the hand seals appeared, a cold ice flame appeared in the surroundings. The ice flame enveloped him, and the true yuan of Tang Qingyue and the others was also rapidly weakened. But seeing this situation, they didn't dare to retract their primeval essence. The appearance of the ice flame froze Li Lingshan's entire body. However, the terrifying and mysterious ice flame continued to burn him, yet it was unable to burn him. However, when it encountered the icy flames above his chest and arms, it quickly devoured and refined the mysterious aura. In just a moment, the wound on Li Lingshan's arm started to bleed. The smell of blood on his chest was also being refined by the cold ice flame. Half an hour later, the mysterious aura and power on the 2 wounds were removed, and blood flowed out. The expression on Li Lingshan's face gradually relaxed when he saw this. As long as the aura and power on the wound were resolved, everything else would be easy to handle. Yes. With a flick of his divine consciousness, the icy frost flame was retracted. Tang Qingyue and the rest's vital essence were also integrated into Li Lingshan's dantian. Li Lingtian quickly cast a few incantation gestures to stop the bleeding after he retracted the ice flame. Following that, Huangfu Yuyan and the others helped Li Lingtian heal his wounds. After the dual cultivation, they could use each other's true essence. Naturally, he was able to heal himself at an extremely fast speed. This time, Li Lingshan's injuries were basically 2 wounds. Once the wounds were healed, the problem would be resolved. Half a day later, Li Lingtian and the others walked out of the room. After he walked out, he realized that the spaceship was still in the air and was not flying. Have you recovered from your injuries? Bei Minxue and the others asked when they saw Li Lingtian coming out. They noticed that he looked energetic and healthy. It's already done. I didn't expect this green-robed scholar to be so terrifying. The cultivation technique he cultivates is also extremely vicious. If I encounter him next time, I'll definitely teach him a lesson. Li Lingshan's face cracked into a cold smile as his killing intent toward the azure-robed scholar rose. This time he almost died. If he didn't kill this blue-robed scholar, it really wouldn't make sense. However, after he finished speaking, he saw a strange smile on Bei Mingxu's face. Li Lingtian could not make heads or tails of this smile. Furthermore, Ji and the others were smiling like this. Li Lingtian, Huangfu Yuyan and the rest were dumbfounded as they did not know what their smiles meant. We have already arrived at the island of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. However, the blue-robed scholar has also come here and is looking at us from the opposite side. Bei Minxue did not want to joke anymore when she saw Li Lingshan's reaction. Then, she pointed with her jade-like hand and told him about this place. It was only then that Li Lingtian remembered that the spaceship was not flying. He looked in the direction Bei Mingxu's jade-like hand was pointing and saw an elderly man in green standing on a huge stone wall with his eyes fixed on them. Moreover, there were countless experts gathered here. It really is him. When the time comes, it's best not to meet me. Li Lingshan's expression turned even colder. The next time he met this guy, he would definitely use his trump card to get back at him. Then, he began to look around with his divine sense. In his divine sense, he saw that his flying ship was on an island floating in the air. The island wasn't big, only 1,000 miles in radius. On the island, there was a palace with a golden wall. The palace emitted a mysterious aura, making it seem extremely mysterious. Moreover, there were hundreds of powerhouses here, and every powerhouse was a 9th heavenly layer martial saint. There were even some martial god powerhouses. The only thing that reassured him was that these experts would not make a move here for the time being. If they attacked here, they would be attacked by other experts. They understood the principle of one less person dying. We're safe for now. They won't make a move. I just heard that the token will appear in the palace in 1 day. 5 days after the token appears, the palace will be opened. If there are not 99 tokens in 5 days, the palace will not be opened. In other words, the opening of the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace this time is a waste. Yun Yaoyao explained the situation on the island. They could rest here for a day. As long as they didn't cause trouble and others didn't heat them up, they wouldn't be in danger. We've been here for an hour and have a rough understanding of the strength of the people above. There are 467 ninth heavenly layer martial saints, 144 first heavenly layer martial gods, 37 second heavenly layer martial gods, and 12 third heavenly layer martial gods. After Bei Minxue arrived on the island, she was also shocked by the experts on the island. Although they knew that experts would gather this time, they did not expect that there would be so many martial god experts. There were so many martial god experts, but only 99 of them entered the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. One did not need to think to know how intense the competition was. Moreover, the experts who entered the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace would be even more intense, even described as tragic. This time, there really are many experts gathered here. There's finally a day where you can give me a sense of oppression. I hope you won't disappoint me. Li Lingxin's expression changed several times after he heard Bei Mingxu's words. Gradually, his expression turned excited. Ever since the day she rose up, although she had encountered countless life and death tribulations, she had walked step by step and did not give her much pressure. At the very least, it gave him a lot of pressure before the competition. But fortunately, no one on our spaceship knows. Only Yao Yao and I know. As long as the blue-robed scholar doesn't say anything, no one will know our strength. Moreover, these experts are all overlord-level experts. They won't join forces at all. At least not for the time being. Bei Mingxu and the others smiled when they saw Li Lingxin's expression. They were also concerned about Li Lingxin's words. However, no one thought that Li Lingtian was arrogant because he had the ability to do so. In the end, Bei Minxue explained some of the things that happened on the island. This is good too. At least they don't know about Yu Yan and the others. We can catch them off guard. As long as we don't meet any experts joining forces, we'll have a chance to compete. Li Lingtian nodded earnestly in agreement with Bei Mingxu's words. Now that Yun Yaoyao and Bei Minxue were here, he could relax a little. After all, the two of them were very knowledgeable and powerful. Some of their methods were not something that ordinary people could do. Here, you need to pay special attention to 3 people. Lin family's 7th young master Lin Zhirong, Invincible Ruinous Army, Divine Wind Cloud River. These 3 are the best of the younger generation in the Divine Continent. The blue-robed scholar is nothing compared to them. There are also other experts who are extremely powerful. After Li Lingtian finished speaking, Bei Minxue began to list out the few most powerful figures on the island. At the same time, he transmitted his voice softly and described the 3 men's appearances. He also told Li Lingtian their locations and reminded him to be careful. Please give me a monthly vote. Book friends, if you have a monthly vote, please vote. Chapter 847. 99 tokens, yes. Li Lingtian nodded earnestly. A person who could make the blessed daughter of the Baiming family feel powerful was certainly not simple. Moreover, the 3 people Bei Minxue mentioned were all powerhouses at the 3rd level of the martial god realm. Although he was not at the peak of the 3rd heaven, he was countless times stronger than the blue-robed scholar. Although such a comparison was somewhat unrealistic, it was enough to show the terrifying strength of the 3 experts. Li Lingtian was well aware of how terrifying the layman in green was. The 3 of them were more powerful than the layman in green, which was why he had to take them seriously. All right, let's get some rest. We still have to compete for the token. During this period of time, it's best if Sister Yu Yan and the others don't show their faces. Bei Mingxu used to be the holy emperor of the Mystic Moon Empire. Li Lingtian was already used to her swift and decisive style. After that, everyone rested on the flying ship and waited for the token to appear. Swoosh! On the island, experts would arrive from time to time. There were more and more experts. However, the experts who came to the island did not move at all. They waited quietly. Li Lingtian sat cross-legged in his room with his eyes slightly closed. He recalled the strength of the blue-robed scholar in his heart. At the same time, he checked his own strength and thought of a way to deal with the blue-robed scholar. The other party was an expert at the peak of the great circle of the third level of the war god realm. When the time came, he would definitely be an unavoidable opponent. Even if he didn't provoke him, he wouldn't let them off. After all, he had already recognized Bei Minxue. He wouldn't let Bei Minxue off because he was worried that the Baiming family would hunt him down. Even now, no one in the distant Shenzhou knew about Bei Mingxue's death. If Bei Minxue returned to the Baiming family and the Baiming family knew that he had attacked their genius, the Baiming family would only need to say a word to make him disappear. Therefore, his first opponent was the blue-robed scholar. Previously, he had fought with the blue-robed scholar and was even injured because the other party was too powerful. He did not know the other party's methods. There was no way he could change the martial god's cultivation level, but if he knew the other party's methods, he would more or less increase his chances of winning. As the saying went, knowing yourself and knowing your enemy would lead to victory. After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian opened his eyes with a faint smile on his face. He had already thought of a way to deal with the blue-robed scholar. Although he didn't know if it would be effective, at least he wouldn't be flustered when the time came. After thinking about the cultivation techniques and divine powers he had to deal with, he felt extremely relaxed. The next step was to revise his divine powers and treasures, so that he could increase his chances of winning in battle. Rumble! A day passed, and the island was in an uproar. A series of explosions sounded in the sky. These explosions came from the pressure of the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, and the pressure triggered the heavenly might. At this moment, all the experts were excited because the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was about to take out the tokens. However, they did not know how to distribute the tokens. Li Lingtian and Bei Minxue walked out. With a wave of their hands, the spacecraft was retracted. The two of them floated in the air, watching the hundreds of experts boil. The two of them were looking forward to this Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. However, the two of them no longer took martial saint powerhouses seriously. Moreover, not many people knew them. After all, his name was the Free and Unfettered Empire, and it hadn't been long since the Free and Unfettered Empire attacked the Mystic Moon Empire and unified all the kingdoms. Those who knew of Li Lingxian's reputation were either super powerhouses or powerhouses from the Mystic Moon Empire. However, the powerhouses who came here basically did not recognize Li Lingtian. Even those who had heard of his name had never seen him before. Bei Minxue was even more so. Bei Minxue was the divine emperor of the Mystic Moon Empire, and she usually cultivated in the palace. Not many people had seen her before. The two of them floated in the air. The man's white clothes fluttered in the wind, and he was handsome. His elegant temperament made all the women in the world fall for him. The girl was also wearing a white veil. She looked elegant, and her temperament was out of the world. She was noble and peerless. The veil on her face covered her face, which increased the sense of mystery. The cold aura made people treat him like a celestial being, and they did not dare to have any thoughts of blasphemy. Such a combination was definitely a match made in heaven. Countless powerhouses were envious of them, but they were all scornful when they saw Li Lingxian's cultivation base. Anyone with a discerning eye would have mistaken Li Lingtian for a pretty boy at a glance. This was because Li Lingtian was only a second firmament martial saint while Bei Minxue was a first firmament martial god. However, they were already preoccupied with the idea that Li Lingtian had attained the second firmament martial saint realm at the age of 24 or 25. It was definitely unprecedented in the divine martial continent. Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Here are the 99 tokens. At this moment, the pressure in the sky became even stronger, so much so that the experts on the island almost knelt on the ground. An ethereal voice rang out. The voice was filled with supreme majesty. Instantly, all the experts fell silent. The entire sea area also fell silent at this time. Only this voice floated in the air. 99 tokens are scattered all over the island. Each token has a corresponding connection. All the tokens must be gathered within 5 days. Otherwise, the world will collapse and the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace will only appear again in 2,000 years. The voice continued to echo. Li Lingtian's divine consciousness was so powerful that even a second or third heaven martial god powerhouse could not compare to him in terms of divine consciousness. But even so, he could not see the source of the sound. As the voice fell, 99 light spots strangely appeared in the air. There were traces of connections between the light spots, and the 99 light spots formed a mysterious array. Li Lingshan's heart skipped a beat when he saw the mysterious array diagram. He spat out a mouthful of blood. "What happened to you?" Bei Mingxue was shocked when she saw Li Lingtian spurting out blood. Her concerned expression could be seen through her veil. In a moment of desperation, she grabbed Li Lingshan's arm with her jade-like hands and looked at him with her beautiful eyes. "I'm fine. What a terrifying array diagram." Li Lingtian spoke softly, his voice audible only to Bei Mingxue. His eyes were fixed on the 99 tokens. Bei Mingxue followed Li Lingshan's gaze but did not notice anything. She then realized that Li Lingtian was a divine array master with a heaven-defying array Dao. He could see through some heaven-defying arrays. She didn't know formations, so she naturally couldn't see anything. It was a blessing to be ignorant. Among the other powerhouses, a few of them were pale but they were not as terrifying as Li Lingtian. When Li Lingtian looked at the 99 tokens again, they were spinning rapidly. It was unknown what the token was made of, but it emitted a mysterious aura. This aura was no different from the aura in Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Moreover, there were faint 5-colored colors on it. The flowing lights and colorful colors caused faint colorful clouds to appear in the sky. The entire sky was extremely beautiful. The token is on this island? This 1,000-mile-wide island has so many experts. Finding these tokens is simply a matter of minutes. How can it take 5 days? It's easy to find 99 tokens here. The people here are all martial saints and martial gods. They can find these tokens with their divine sense. That's right. At the very least, he's at the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm. Not necessarily. Don't you see a second sky of the martial saint realm somewhere? On the island, countless experts were discussing. Indeed, on an island that was thousands of miles in size, it was easy to find tokens with light shadows. Even a supreme realm expert's divine sense could gather these tokens in a moment. The divine sense of a martial saint or martial god could remember everything he saw. Even if these tokens were to drift away, he could still use his divine sense to lock onto them. There were hundreds of experts here. It was naturally very easy for a few experts to lock onto a token with their divine senses. However, as the discussion reached the end, the powerhouses turned to look at Li Lingtian in the sky. This was because Li Lingshan's cultivation base was the lowest in this place. It was unsightly. If he was at the second sky of the martial saint realm in the Azure continent, he would definitely be a heaven-defying expert. However, he had become the most trashy expert here. While the powerhouses were discussing among themselves, Li Lingshan's lips curled into a faint smile. His smile was filled with disdain as he completely ignored these experts. Bei Mingxue was extremely satisfied when she saw Li Lingshan's smile. This was a true powerhouse. A giant dragon would not be an enemy of an ant. Let's keep an eye on the 33rd and 66th tokens first. Li Lingtian transmitted his voice into Bei Mingxue's ears and spoke in a serious tone with a faint smile on his face. Bei Mingxue was puzzled when she heard Li Lingshan's words. Her beautiful eyes looked at the tokens that had formed a mysterious formation in the air, and quickly found the 33rd and 66th tokens. When she found the 2 tokens, her expression changed. This was because there were actually 4 third firmament martial god experts who had noticed these 2 tokens. However, before she could ask Li Lingtian about it, an explosion sounded in the sky. 100-meter-long red electric arc struck down fiercely. The electric arc came from the 9th heaven. In an instant, before the experts present could react, the electric arc struck the island. Immediately, all the experts were distracted and their divine senses left the token. The ground trembled as if the sky was about to turn upside down. This was not the end. Just as the ground trembled, the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace on the island quickly became smaller. Let's go. Seeing this scene, all the experts were stunned. Only 3 or 4 experts reacted and quickly flashed their bodies. Bei Mingxue was also staring blankly at the transformation of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. However, Li Lingshan's voice rang in her ears. At the same time, her hand was grabbed by a large hand and her entire body was pulled away. She was then quickly sent flying into the distance. When she flew out, Xiaoyao Immortal Palace had already turned into a black dot and disappeared. At this moment, all the experts finally understood that it was not the disappearance of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, but the island was growing endlessly. In the blink of an eye, the 1,000-mile-wide island became hundreds of times larger and faster. The 99 tokens also turned into meteors and landed on the boundless island. Now, all the experts knew that this island had become bigger. 99 tokens were scattered on the island. It was completely difficult to find them. Chapter 848. The seventh young master of the Lin family. How did you know that this island was going to become bigger? In the air, although Li Lingxin's speed could not reach 1,000 miles in an instant, he was still extremely fast. He was even faster than a martial god powerhouse's teleportation. Moreover, he had made preparations beforehand. He flew for a long time before the other experts flew. In the air, there was no living being anywhere. This was no longer an island floating in the air. It was an independent world. There was no sea at all. The two of them flew quickly in the air and chased after the meteor. Bei Minxue felt the warmth of her hand, and her heart was beating fast. Her face was flushed red. Her entire being was being carried by Li Lingtian as her mind was filled with terror. After a long time, the moment she saw the two of them chasing after the shooting star was the moment Li Lingtian told her to keep an eye on the token. She had already woken up from what had just happened. Curious, she turned to Li Lingtian and asked, "I didn't know that this island would grow bigger." Li Lingtian burst into laughter when he heard Bei Mingxu's words. The changes on this island had also exceeded his imagination. However, he had seen through some of the mysteries on the 99 tokens. He knew that this terrifying array was not as simple as the idiotic ones below. Thus, he had asked Bei Minxue to keep an eye on the two tokens so that they could fight for them. "You didn't know that the island would grow, so how could you ask me to keep an eye on the 33 and 66 tokens? And why did you chase after this token first? You clearly knew about it beforehand," Bei Mingxue said in disbelief. She naturally didn't believe it. Although she was shocked by the changes in the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, she was still a martial god expert. She took Li Lingxin's reaction to heart. Li Lingxin's reaction was not unusual at all, as if he had known about it all along. "I really don't know about the changes to the island. I only know that the formation formed by the 99 tokens is not simple. Even with my array Dao cultivation, I was still shocked by the array. So, I know that the 99 tokens are not as simple as those idiots below think. Moreover, the array formed by the 99 tokens, 33 and 66 are the core of the array. As long as you look at these two tokens, you won't be too far away." Li Lingtian flew at a high speed as he used his divine consciousness to lock onto the token while speaking to Bei Minxue. Bei Minxue was shocked when she heard Li Lingxin's words. The young man in front of her was 2 years younger than her. She did not expect him to have everything under control. He even calculated some heavenly secrets in his heart. Such a monster was really not something that geniuses could compare to. "I see." He was shocked. If he were to really fight against this young man, it would undoubtedly be the greatest tragedy in his life. As he spoke, his divine sense also locked onto the meteor in the sky. "Be careful. There are two powerhouses eyeing this token. One is a first heaven martial god realm sacred array master, and the other is a third heaven super powerhouse." Li Lingtian frowned as he spoke softly. He then sped up and the two of them left a trail of light as they shot into the sky like meteors. Upon hearing Li Lingxin's words, Bei Minxue channeled her true essence and was ready to strike at any moment. She had learned from Li Lingxin's way of doing things that no matter what she did, she had to find an opportunity and take the initiative to gam the initiative. Swoosh! A moment later, Li Lingtian and his companion landed with a surprised expression on their faces. In the sky, the meteor had already revealed its original appearance. It was a token that was emitting bursts of 5 colored halos. Within a meter of the token, there was a magical light that was floating in the air. When the two of them saw this scene, they were both incomparably surprised. However, at this moment, 2 air-piercing sounds rang out in the air. 2 figures landed on the ground one after another. They looked at the token floating in the air with a mysterious expression on their faces, but they did not fight for the token. Their eyes met, and the air was instantly filled with a strange and oppressive atmosphere. Just as Li Lingtian had said at the beginning, there was a third firmament martial god superpower house and a first firmament martial god holy array master. The two of them stood opposite each other. Together with Li Lingtian and Bei Minxue, they formed 3 factions. Be careful. This is the 7th young master of the Lin family, Lin Zhirong. He is extremely powerful. The 3 factions were separated by a few hundred meters as they looked at the token in the center. Bi Mingsu's cherry lips moved as she transmitted her voice into Li Lingshan's ears with a grave expression. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In the air, a strong wind appeared out of nowhere, causing the already oppressive aura to become even more oppressive. Li Lingtian looked at the stage 1 elder and the stage 3 Lin Zhirong as he schemed in his heart. With his and Bei Mingshu's strength, they were confident that they could kill the old man, but it was impossible for them to defeat Lin Zhirong. However, he did not want to give up on this token. After all, it was not so easy to obtain a token. Moreover, with his personality and style, he would not let go of the items he needed easily. He had not even made a move yet, so he definitely would not leave just like that. This token, this young master wants it. None of you should fight with this young master. If this young master is happy, I can help you fight for 1 or 2 tokens. But don't provoke me, because my name is Lin Zhirong. At this moment, Lin Zhirong spoke, but his tone was extremely arrogant. With a look of disdain on his face, he looked at Li Lingtian and the others before shifting his gaze to the token. Is that possible? I want this token. You two should also not compete with me. If I'm happy, I might even let the 2 of you earn a sum of money. That's on the condition that you don't provoke me. My name is Li Lingtian. When Li Lingtian heard Lin Zhirong's words, not only was he not angry, he even found it funny. This 7th young master of the Lin family was really fun. Looking at Lin Zhirong's appearance, a figure appeared in his mind. This figure was somewhat similar to Lin Zhirong in front of him, and the tone of their conversation was similar. That person was a friend he met in Sky Cloud Sec Xueqi. She had not seen him for nearly 10 years. She wondered how he was doing now. Xueqi was a big guy, like a rough person. However, Xueqi's talent was strong, and he had activated the Earth bloodline. Li Lingtian had a good impression of her as she had the weight of the earth and was loyal to her friends. The young man in front of him was definitely a super heaven-defying talent. He was also an Earth-type powerhouse. Earth-type martial artists were more dignified. Although they were a little arrogant, they were not like those sinister and cunning people. From what he said just now, it was not difficult to see that this person was arrogant, but his words could be trusted. His heart suddenly relaxed as he spoke indifferently. Kiki. I don't dare to compete with Sir Ling Tian. Bei Minxue could not help but burst into laughter when she heard Li Lingshan's words. She did not expect Li Lingtian to be so funny. His words were exactly the same as Lin Zhirong's. Sir, if you want this token, I can't agree, the old man at the first level of the War God realm said with an extremely serious expression. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and a compass appeared in his hand. On the compass were 12 exquisite small flags. This action was completely that of an array path expert. Furthermore, even if they were facing a super opponent, the array Dao expert would not have the slightest fear. This was because in the eyes of the array Dao expert, the most powerful thing in the world was still the array Dao. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. Lin Zhirong's expression turned cold. A martial saint and a first firmament martial god actually dared to tease him. Wasn't this courting death? As the voice fell, the wind in the air became even stronger. The vital essence in Lin Zhirong's body started to distort. The space was completely distorted in front of this vital essence. The cultivation of a third firmament martial god was on a completely different level compared to other martial god powerhouses. Moreover, the destructive power was even stronger than the green-robed scholar he had encountered earlier. The powerhouses of the Divine Continent were indeed incomparable to those of the Black Continent. Moreover, Lin Zhirong was one of the best among the younger generation of the Divine Continent. Boom! With a dull thud, an earth-shattering pressure came crashing down from the sky. The pressure instantly enveloped Li Lingtian and the other 2. Dang 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 dang. The terrifying pressure forced Li Lingtian and the other two to retreat while Li Lingtian took a few steps back. Bai Mingxue and the old man both had a strange halo around their bodies. They also retreated a few dozen steps before stopping. Seeing this, Lin Zhirong was shocked. The young man was only at the second sky of the martial saint realm, but he only took a few steps back in front of his pressure. His strength was even more terrifying than a martial god realm expert. One had to know that Bai Mingxue was using the Dark North Divine Moon art. The old man also controlled the array Dao, so he was able to resist the pressure. In front of the pressure, the strength of the three people was immediately revealed. Very good. Third firmament war god. Reaching this step is already heaven-defying. You said you want this token. It's not impossible. However, let's make a bet. How about it? If you win, I will give you this token. If you lose, you will have to keep this token and serve me for a year. Li Lingtian steadied himself and stood firmly on the ground with one foot. The true dragon's protective dragon energy blocked the opponent's pressure. At the same time, he waved his hand, and the heavenly demon domain was unleashed. Waves of mysterious defense blocked Lin Zhirong's pressure. Lin Zhirong was shocked when Li Lingtian managed to withstand the third firmament martial god's pressure. He was a third sky martial god expert. His abnormal methods and strength were rarely matched by people of the same level. This kind of strength could already be said to be heaven-defying. He originally thought that no one was more heaven-defying than him. He did not expect this young man to be so powerful. Chapter 849. A promise of one move bet. Are you kidding me? You're just a mere second sky of the martial saint realm. Do you think you're qualified to bet with me? Besides, if you win, you will get the token, and you want me to work for you. If I win, I will just take the token. Is that fair? Lin Zhirong's face was filled with anger after hearing Li Lingtian's words. A martial saint actually made a bet with him. Wasn't this a joke? Moreover, the bet was so unfair. It was simply intolerable. He was a dignified martial god expert, but he was fooled by a junior. Indeed, he could not let him off easily. You're a third firmament martial god expert, and I'm only a martial saint. Are you afraid? Are you afraid of losing to me? Li Lingtian looked at Lin Zhirong's expression and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. In terms of cultivation base, he was no match for Lin Zhirong. In terms of strength and scheming, Lin Zhirong was still far behind Li Lingtian. As he spoke, the corners of his mouth curled upwards, revealing a hint of provocation. Nonsense. You're just a second sky of the martial saint realm. I can kill you with one finger. Lin Zhirong was getting angrier and angrier. Even though he knew that the other party was trying to goad him, he had no choice but to save face. In that case, as long as you survive 3 of my moves, it will be your victory. Li Lingtian smiled in his heart as he continued to speak while his eyes were fixed on Lin Zhirong. Bai Mingxue and the old man were stunned. They had never expected things to turn out like this. Bai Mingxue was elated. Li Lingtian had been scheming against Lin Zhirong step by step, but she did not know how Li Lingtian would defeat Lin Zhirong. Lin Zhirong was a martial god expert of the Divine Continent, one of the best among the younger generation. His strength was extremely terrifying. However, Bai Mingxue soon understood. Humph, damn it. You want to defeat me in 3 moves? What a joke. As long as you can withstand one of my moves, it will be your victory. Lin Zhirong was furious. A martial saint actually said that he couldn't dodge 3 of his moves. It was an insult. In front of him, let alone a second sky martial saint, even if it was a second sky martial god, he was confident that he could kill the other party in one strike. Killing intent rose in his heart, and a strong killing intent appeared in the air. Suddenly, a murderous aura appeared between heaven and earth. The anger on Lin Zhirong's face grew. He unleashed all of his true essence and the terrifying pressure became even stronger. It was so strong that Li Lingtian and the other 2 could barely move. All right, this is what you said. As long as I survive one of your moves, you will lose. At that time, you will have to stay and serve me for a year. You will also have to leave behind your token. The smile on Li Lingtian's face widened. He retreated quickly, leaving Lin Zhirong far behind. At the same time, Bei Minxue and the old man understood Li Lingshan's plan. They quickly retreated as well, afraid that they would be caught in the crossfire. Very good. You actually dare to scheme against me. However, no matter how cunning you are, in front of this young master, you will just vanish like smoke. Die. Lin Zhirong finally understood that everything was Li Lingshan's scheme. He had fallen for it step by step. Thinking of this, he was extremely furious. He circulated the true essence in his entire body and stretched out his hand. A huge green sword appeared in his hand. The huge sword had a green luster on it. Immediately, a destructive sword chi erupted. The long sword was not used, but the space had already begun to tear. Metal will. Overlord sword, destruction. Lin Zhirong's expression became serious. He circulated the third sky of the martial god realm's vital essence to the extreme, sending waves of destructive vital essence into the long sword. At the same time, the will of the great path of metal erupted from his body. The will of the great path of metal of a martial god expert was extremely terrifying. Just this metal will of the great path alone was enough to make Bei Minxue and the old man sway. Endless will of the great path tore through their defenses. The two of them quickly retreated, retreating a full 10 miles away before they felt slightly better. Li Lingtian was shocked when he saw the metal will. The martial god's metal will was enough to kill any warrior sage powerhouse. The realm of cultivation was an existence that no skill could surpass. In the hands of a martial god expert, any skill could turn something rotten into something magical. When the metal will appeared, Lin Zhirong's sword slashed down fiercely. Suddenly, the space was split into two halves as a destructive sword ray came crashing down on Li Lingtian. 5 elements Dao intent. True dragon body protection. Heaven flipping seal. Icebound 10,000 mile. Freezing sky altar. Desolate 10 consecutive strikes. Li Lingshan's inner yuan had been circulating to the maximum. He had used all sorts of schemes against such a heaven-defying powerhouse. If he lost the initiative, he would be doomed. When Lin Zhirong used the sword light, he could already feel Lin Zhirong's killing intent and anger. The limitless feather coat was activated, and the heavenly sword body and the 5-element sacred body were also activated. When the sword light appeared, the defense of the true dragon body protection was used, and the 5 elements Dao intent was also used at this time. His body retreated rapidly, but as he retreated, he continuously used blocking attacks and defenses. In the end, he used the Heaven Up seal and Icebound 10,000 mile. As the last defense, the Freezing Sky altar appeared in front of him. Behind the Freezing Sky altar, he swung the Extreme Overlord saber, and 10 saber rays slashed down. In the blink of an eye, Li Lingtian had already unleashed several attacks and defenses. He retreated 1,000 meters. In front of him was a glacier and a powerful defense. Only by performing this could he feel some peace of mind. After all, the destructive strike of the 3rd level of the War God realm had almost shattered his mind and spirit, and he had almost lost the will to resist. In the distance, Bei Minxue and the old man watched in shock at Li Lingshan's actions. His speed and calculations were precise to the extreme. Several defensive and offensive attacks were almost done in one go. If it was not for his previous calculations, it would definitely be impossible for him to display so many attacks and defenses. Between heaven and earth, the destructive sword radiance came crashing down like a divine might. The sword radiance sliced through the void and landed ruthlessly on Li Lingshan's defense. Kacha rumble. Rumble. All of a sudden, the destructive sword radiance bombarded Li Lingshan's defenses, rendering them vulnerable like tofu. These defenses and attacks were practically non-existent. They did not block the sword light at all. The old man, Li Lingtian, and Bei Minxue were all shocked by the sight. He didn't expect Lin Zhirong, who was at the 3rd heaven of the martial god realm, to be so terrifying with a casual strike. He wondered what kind of expert could withstand such terrifying power. Bei Minxue watched in horror as Li Lingshan's defense and attack were destroyed like rotten wood. Finally, the sword light struck the 10 saber lights. The saber light trembled and then disappeared. The sword light paused for a moment, but its power became even more terrifying. With an explosion, the sharp sword light hit the Freezing Sky god altar. Instantly, Li Lingtian was sent flying along with Freezing Sky Altar as if he had been struck by a heavy blow. At the same time, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Freezing Sky Altar and Li Lingtian turned into a black dot and disappeared into the horizon. After the last dull thud, Li Lingtian and Freezing Sky God Altar vanished without a trace of aura or movement. The world finally quieted down. Bei Mingshu's figure flashed as she flew toward Li Lingtian. At this moment, the old man's eyes were fixed on the token. His body swayed, and the compass in his hand emitted bursts of light. In an instant, a mysterious pillar of light appeared, and 12 array flags shot out. The pillars of light and array flags surrounded the token. This sudden change made Lin Zhirong even more furious. He had fallen into Li Lingshan's trap. It was not easy for him to kill Li Lingtian, yet this old man was the Oriole. However, before he could vent his anger, the array flags and the light pillar disappeared into thin air. Damn it! Lin Zhirong roared. He could only look up at the sky. The place where the token had originally been had become a mountain. Boom! Boom! Destructive attacks bombarded the mountain as if they wanted to destroy the old man. However, the mountain emitted waves of rebound power, negating his attacks one by one. In the distance, Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood from the ground. His figure flashed as he rose from the ground. Bei Mingsu was looking for Li Lingtian everywhere when she suddenly saw Li Lingtian soaring up from the soil. She heaved a sigh of relief. However, Li Lingtian did not look like much at the moment. He was covered in mud. It was as if he had crawled out of the mud. His clothes were tattered, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes kept moving. Li Lingtian held the celestial pole tyrant emperor saber in his hand. The Freezing Sky Altar was only the size of a palm. How are you? Bei Minxue hurried to Li Lingshan's side and asked with concern. I'm fine. I won't die. What a terrifying attack. This is the first time I've encountered such a powerful attack. Sister Xue, take me there. Li Lingtian shook his head. As he looked at Lin Zhirong who was bombarding the mountain in the distance, Li Lingtian finally understood what was going on. That place didn't have a mountain peak before, but now there was a mountain peak. It must be an array master who cast a magical array. Moreover, that token had disappeared. Now, thinking about how terrifying Lin Zhirong was, he still felt a lingering fear. He had never met such a powerful figure. With one strike, he had destroyed his consciousness. Even after using so many terrifying defenses and attacks, he was still unable to block the other party's sword. If not for the desolate 10 consecutive slashes blocking the sword light at the end and the Freezing Sky Altar blocking most of the sword light at the back, his limitless feather coat and true dragon body barrier would not have been able to block the sword light either. One had to know that even if he did not use the 6th layer of the true dragon body barrier, he could still block a martial god's empty-handed attack. Now, he understood Lin Zhirong's dominance and knew that the martial god's heaven-defying nature was not something a martial saint could compare to. He looked at Bei Minxue and said. However, he was also betting in his heart. He was betting on his taste. If he lost the bet, he would be in trouble. Chapter 851. The Dominance of Realm, 1. No matter how powerful a 9th firmament martial saint was, he was completely an ant in front of a martial god. This was because there was only one Li Lingtian in this world. Only Li Lingshan's methods could withstand the martial god's pressure. The 4 9th firmament martial saints felt the pressure of the martial god and immediately trembled. The will to resist in their hearts also disappeared, and their bodies could not move. Die! The martial god powerhouse looked at the 4 9th firmament martial saints in front of him. The corners of his mouth curled up, and his cold voice was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. Instantly, the air distorted and the pressure bombarded down fiercely. Bang bang bang. With 3 soft muffled sounds, the 3 9th heavenly layer martial saints bled from their 7 orifices, and their vitality quickly disappeared. In front of the pressure, the 9th heavenly layer martial saint did not have any room to resist and was directly destroyed. The other martial saint powerhouse's eyes were dull as if he had become stupid. Swoosh. Seeing the 4 martial saints being dealt with, the martial god's expression was calm. To a martial god, killing a few martial saints was no different from crushing a few ants. He grabbed with one hand and a token returned to his hand. He turned around and left. However, when he turned around, his expression changed drastically. A destructive pressure directly bombarded down from the heavens and earth. Third Firmament War God. The martial god expert looked at the destructive pressure and cried out in shock. He, a first heaven martial god, was facing a third heaven martial god. It was the same as a martial saint who had just been killed facing him. There was no difference at all. After a shocked cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body could not move either. A destructive light bombarded down. A first-level martial god could have escaped from a third-level martial god, but he had no chance against the pressure of a third-level martial god. He didn't even have the strength to dodge the terrifying attack. His entire body was blasted out, and in the end, his vitality disappeared. The token flew into the air and landed in the hands of the third heaven martial god realm expert. On the island, there were fights everywhere. When a martial saint met a martial god, it was a complete massacre. When a first firmament war god encountered a second firmament war god, he would most likely flee. When a second firmament war god encountered a third firmament war god, he would also flee. On the path of martial arts, each realm was a world. The higher the cultivation realm, the more powerful one could display the power of the level. A higher-level expert could use his pressure to destroy a lower-level martial artist. Boom! Second firmament of the war god realm. What a useless existence. Die! Yet another third-level war god was facing off against the second level. The third-level war god revealed a disdainful expression, and the pressure from his entire body erupted and pressed down fiercely. The world instantly fell silent, and even the air seemed to be imprisoned. The second firmament war god's eyes were filled with shock and despair. Tisk! Right at this moment, a destructive force in the hands of a third firmament war god tore through space and struck the body of a second firmament war god. The second sky of the war god realm spat out a mouthful of blood, and his vitality gradually disappeared. The pressure in the air was also withdrawn by the third sky warrior. Life and death massacres could be seen everywhere on the island. The ninth heavenly layer of the martial saint realm experts were only at the bottom of the slaughter here. They did not even have the slightest chance to resist. They could still fight against martial saints of the same rank, but if they encountered martial gods, they would only die. They would not even have the chance to escape. The only ones who could escape were the first and second firmament war gods. The two powerhouses had to escape before the powerhouse of the next level unleashed the destructive pressure. Otherwise, they would most likely die after being suppressed by the pressure. In this world the strong were respected. The martial arts of this world also carried a strict law. No one could break this law. Li Lingtian and the other two stopped in front of a lake. In the center of the lake, a token was floating above it, about 2 meters above the surface of the water. The token was emitting a faint glow. Upon seeing it, a faint smile appeared on Li Lingshan's face. However, at this moment, several gusts of wind appeared in the air. A gust of wind blew and soon stopped. When the wind stopped, 6 figures appeared at the edge of the lake. Li Lingtian turned his head and looked at the approaching figure. The corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile that was laced with evil. There were 4 ninth firmament martial saints, 1 first firmament martial god, and 1 second firmament martial god. When the 6 figures arrived at the edge of the lake, they looked at the token in the center of the lake with excitement on their faces. However, when they realized that there were other experts beside them, they did not dare to make a move. All of a sudden, they noticed Li Lingshan's group of 3 and spotted Lin Zhirong not far away. The 6 of them dashed away as if they had seen a ghost. The speed at which they left was countless times faster than the speed at which they came. A third firmament war god here, competing with a third firmament war god. Wasn't this courting death? Seeing such an expert, he didn't even have the mood to fight and directly fled. Throughout their journey, Li Lingtian and the other 2 had encountered such incidents countless times. 2 days had passed. Li Lingtian and the other 2 had been searching for other tokens with the tokens they had. They already had 31 tokens in their hands. The more tokens he gathered in his hand, the stronger his sense of the other tokens. There was a third firmament martial god beside him. The other martial saints and martial gods turned around and fled when they saw him. Li Lingtian did not allow Lin Zhirong to conceal himself after realizing the situation. Instead, he swaggered away. In the past 2 days, he had also understood the true power between the levels of martial artists. He could make low-level martial artists fear and escape just by relying on his realm. In the past, he had been able to defeat and kill so many experts. Now that he thought about it, it was all because of countless luck, heaven-defying divine powers, treasures, and powerful cultivation techniques. Otherwise, he would have been killed countless times on this island. Third Firmament War God. Not bad indeed. Li Lingtian glanced at Lin Zhirong indifferently. The corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. Humph, I've fallen for your trick. Otherwise, I would have been able to kill you in 3 moves. Lin Zhirong looked at Li Lingtian and felt that Li Lingshan's words were sarcastic. He was extremely displeased. When the other martial god and martial saints saw him, they were like mice seeing a cat. Even a third heaven martial god did not dare to easily make a move. He did not expect his brilliant life to be ruined by a second firmament martial saint like Li Lingtian. However, he was shocked in his heart. This young man's strength was too terrifying. He was able to remain unscathed under his destructive attack. There was also that mystical array Dao that could even easily break the array of a holy array master. This young man was mysterious, powerful, domineering, and elegant. He gave off an unfathomable feeling. Even though he was at the third firmament of the war god realm, he was still a little wary of this young man despite his unwillingness. Then let's give it a try this time. Let's see just how powerful you are at the third firmament of the war god realm. If you lose to me again, I'm afraid you won't have any face left. Li Lingtian looked at Lin Zhirong's expression and revealed an enigmatic smile. There was no need to argue with him. Lin Zhirong felt that Li Lingtian was a mysterious person. This was because he could see the calm and confident expression on Li Lingshan's face at all times. He wondered where this calmness and confidence came from. Unless one had heaven-defying strength, one would not be so confident. Confidence came from a strong foundation. He did not understand how strong this young second sky of the martial saint realm was. Then let's give it a try. Lin Zhirong said coldly. He looked at Bei Mingxue with confusion and curiosity. For the past 2 days, Bei Mingxue had been following Li Lingtian. The relationship between the two was like that of a friend, yet it was not exactly a friend at the same time. This was because sometimes it would ruin their friendship. It was as if they were strangers, but Li Lingtian addressed her as Sister Xue. Moreover, he felt that this woman in white was definitely not simple. You still don't know this queen, right? You should be familiar with the Baiming family. Bei Mingxue was standing beside Li Lingtian. When she saw Lin Zhirong's expression, a smug smile appeared on her face behind her veil. Only Li Lingtian could see it from her side. As she spoke, she stretched out her slender hand, and an exquisite long sword appeared in her hand. The Baiming family. Moonlight Divine Sword. You are from the Baiming family. You are Bei Mingxue. When Lin Zhirong heard Bei Mingxue's words, he stared at the exquisite sword in Bei Mingxue's hand and jumped away as if he had been bitten by a poisonous snake. His eyes were filled with horror, as if he had seen a ghost. The Baiming family was one of the top 10 families, just like his Lin family. Moreover, the Baiming family was even more powerful than his Lin family. The 3 most powerful treasures of the Baiming family, the Moonlight Divine Sword, were famous. He did not expect it to appear in the hands of this girl. In addition, Li Lingtian addressed her as Sister Xue, which immediately reminded her of the Baiming family's proud daughter, Bei Mingxue. It seems that there are still people who know of this queen. Bei Mingxue's voice carried a hint of a smile. Her peerless charm was intoxicating. Then, with a thought of his divine sense, the Moonlight Divine Sword disappeared and returned to his dantian. After he was done, he looked at Li Lingtian. Naturally, Li Lingtian understood that Bei Mingxue was helping him. Otherwise, he would not have revealed his identity. I didn't think that the genius of the Baiming family, Northern Nether Snow, would appear here. Isn't Northern Nether Snow the divine emperor of the Mystic Moon Empire? Why didn't you come to the palace? Why did you come here with a man? Lin Zhirong was shocked. Even though he was wary of Li Lingtian earlier, he still looked down on a warrior sage powerhouse. Who would have thought that the girl beside this martial saint was Bei Minxue? Bei Mingxu's status was definitely above his. Bei Minxue was definitely like a child in the martial arts world. Among the martial arts experts, she was easily hundreds or even thousands of years old. Bei Minxue was simply a little girl. However, Bei Mingxue was indeed very famous. She had reached the martial god realm at the age of 20. She was definitely a heaven-defying top-notch expert in the divine martial continent. Furthermore, Bei Minxue was cold and elegant, and she kept people at a distance. No one had ever come close to her, but she was actually standing beside a young man. How could he not be shocked and curious? Chapter 852. Lin Zhirong's Shock. 1. Kiki. The seventh young master of the Lin family, the favored son of heaven, didn't he come to the Black Continent? Bei Minxue giggled. This was the first time she laughed in front of outsiders. Lin Zhirong was stunned. He didn't expect that the ice mountain would melt one day. Bei Mingxue, who was known as one of the top 10 most beautiful fairies in the divine continent, actually laughed in front of others. If the geniuses of the divine continent knew about this, they would go crazy over it. I came to Xianzhou for Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. As for Fairy Bai Mingxue, she's the Holy Emperor of the Mystic Moon Empire, one of the 3 empires of the Mystic Continent. There shouldn't be a need for her to take the risk. Besides, if those geniuses of the divine continent knew that Fairy Bai Mingxue has a young man by her side, I believe Sir Ling Tian would definitely be torn apart. Lin Zhirong forced himself to calm down as he spoke calmly. His gaze then shifted to Li Lingtian. He began to suspect that this young man was the person that Bei Minxue liked. This was impossible. Bei Minxue was one of the 10 fairies of the divine continent, the most beautiful fairy. The experts of the world went crazy over her. Naturally, she would not take a fancy to a young martial saint. Moreover, Bei Minxue was the most talented super martial god expert. There was no reason for her to like a martial saint. Haha. Tear me apart? In this world, those who have the guts don't have the strength, and those who have the strength don't have the guts. I really like people coming to die. Let's see if they have the ability to tear me apart. Li Lingtian laughed out loud without restraint. He looked extremely excited and did not look afraid at all. Lin Zhirong's expression changed several times when he saw Li Lingxian's expression. He did not know Li Lingxian's background as there were no superclans or forces with the Li surname in the divine martial continent. Seventh young master still doesn't know who he is. Bei Minxue looked at Lin Zhirong's confused expression and said calmly. Her voice was like the sound of nature. Extremely sweet. I really have never heard of it. The curiosity on Lin Zhirong's face grew. He then looked at Li Lingtian seriously, waiting for Bei Minxue to speak. For a moment, no one spoke. The air seemed to have solidified. After a long time, Bei Minxue spoke. Li Lingtian is 25 years old. Second firmament martial saint. The #1 divine pill refiner in the divine martial continent. The pills he concocts are all of peerless quality, and he has concocted a peerless mutated great recovery pill. Grade 8 mutated spirit concentration pill. The first person in the Alchemist Guild to become an honorary elder before the age of 20. Bei Mingxu's sweet voice slowly sounded out. One of her martial god experts was a saint emperor of an empire. He was proficient in the art of speech and understood the hearts of humans. It was only when the curiosity of others reached its peak that the effect and power would be the greatest. As soon as he finished speaking, the space fell silent again. The 3 of them stood motionlessly at the edge of the lake. Only the token was emitting a faint halo that kept spinning. He's indeed powerful. I didn't expect him to reach the second sky of the martial saint realm before the age of 25. Even in the divine continent, he's already a heaven-defying super expert. I might not be able to meet the #1 alchemy saint of the divine martial continent. Unless you have the Alchemist Guild Saint Alchemist badge or a Tier 8 medicinal pill, no one will believe you. Moreover, is it possible to refine a pinnacle medicinal pill? The atmosphere was extremely oppressive. After a long time, Lin Zhirong's expression kept changing. Finally, he said indifferently. At this moment, a dozen martial saints and 3 or 4 martial gods had arrived at the edge of the lake. However, None of them had made a move on the token in the center of the lake. They were all suppressed by this oppressive aura and felt uncomfortable. If they wanted to leave, they couldn't bear to part with the token. If they attacked, they were worried that they would be attacked by a third firmament war god. It was difficult to get off the tiger. He could only wait for the three of them to fight and find an opportunity to snatch the token. After Lin Zhirong's words, the experts at the edge of the lake exclaimed, "Alchemy saints, peerless pills, great cyclic pills, and mutated peerless spirit concentration pills were legendary existences in the divine continent." He did not expect that this young man was actually that legendary existence. As a martial saint or martial god, a saint alchemist was definitely their god and could become his true god. A peerless medicinal pill. Spirit concentration pill. A peerless spirit concentration pill. Level 8 Super Alchemy Saint. The Divine Martial Continent's #1 Divine Alchemist? Despite the pressure, the dozen powerhouses could not help but exclaim. When they looked at Li Lingtian, it was as if they were looking at a glowing treasure. Those divine artifacts and treasures were completely trash in front of this young man. If he could obtain this young man's medicinal pills and obtain this alchemist's guardian, it would be heaven-defying when he broke through the bottleneck and realm. Take a look at this. Don't touch it. Otherwise, even if you're at the third firmament of the war god realm, you'll suffer an unbearable destructive blow. This was the effect that Bei Minxue wanted. She glanced at Li Lingtian. She extended her slender hand and removed the badge from Li Lingxian's chest. There was no true essence or force on her hand. With a wave of her hand, the badge floated in the air and slowly floated toward Lin Zhirong. He stopped 1 meter away from Lin Zhirong as if he was being stabilized in the air. At the same time, Li Lingtian placed his hands behind his back. With a flick of his divine consciousness, 2 jade bottles appeared before him with a glint in his eyes. Then, the 2 jade bottles flew towards Lin Zhirong, completely controlling everything with his divine sense. With this degree of control of the divine sense, there were simply not many experts who could do it. Even a martial god expert could not do it so easily. In the air, a badge and 2 jade bottles were floating. More than 10 pairs of eyes stared at the 3 items in the air, as if they were looking at a magical and heaven-defying treasure. They even forgot about the token in the center of the lake. The badge of the Alchemist Guild. It's indeed the badge of the Alchemist Guild. The last time this young master saw Heavenly Fire Saint Alchemist, it was this badge. The Divine Martial Continent's #1 Divine Alchemist, Li Lingtian. As expected, it's beyond my imagination. The Alchemist Guild actually acclaimed you as the Divine Martial Continent's #1 Alchemy Saint. Lin Zhirong looked at the badge, and his expression changed several times. This badge was not fake at all. In other words, Li Lingtian was indeed a holy alchemist. The status and identity of a holy alchemist was extremely high. However, he immediately saw the words on the badge. This badge was engraved with 8 exquisite purple gold flowers. There were also 9 small rune-like words on it. It was the name of the Divine Martial Continent's #1 Divine Alchemist, and on the back of the badge was the name Ling Tian. It proved that this badge was a Saint Alchemist badge issued by the Alchemist Guild. Moreover, it was a level 8 Saint Alchemist, the #1 Saint Alchemist in the Divine Martial Continent. The Divine Martial Continent's #1 Divine Alchemist, Li Lingtian. Lin Zhirong was shocked when he saw the information on the badge. He had never thought that the young man before him was the #1 alchemy saint of the Divine Martial Continent. One had to know that the Alchemist Guild was extremely powerful. There were countless alchemy saint masters in it, but they just had to bestow this youth as the #1 alchemy saint master. One could imagine how powerful the alchemy Tao of this youth in front of him was. While he was shocked, the other experts were also shocked. The Alchemist Guild was spread across the entire Divine Martial Continent. Only spirit alchemists were basically part of the Alchemist Guild. The person in front of him was the #1 Divine Alchemist among the many almighty alchemists. Then, Lin Zhirong looked at the 2 jade bottles in the air. He had already made up his mind. They were definitely level 7 or 8 pills. He opened the lid of the jade bottle with his divine sense. Immediately, a mysterious fragrance was emitted from the jade bottle, which made people feel excited. The experts were immediately attracted by the fragrance. They sniffed fiercely as if they wanted to absorb the medicinal fragrance. A finger-sized pellet floated in the air, emitting a faint arc of light. Looking at the arc of light, Zhirong was shocked because this arc of light was left behind by the purple electric arc. In other words, this pill had received the pill tribulation and became a mutated pill. Looking at it carefully, he discovered that there were countless runes on the medicinal pill. They were left behind by the pill tribulation. The color was perfect, without the slightest impurity, and the quality had already reached the level of a peerless product. Grade 7 Great Rejuvenation Pill. A mutated peerless grade. As expected, it's a peerless grade 7th grade Great Cyclic Pellet. Zhirong was shocked and could not help but say it out loud. He was the proud son of heaven of the Lin family. Naturally, he had consumed countless 7th grade Great Recovery Pills, but he had never seen a top grade or peerless one. Moreover, there had never been a peerless pill in the divine martial continent. Now, a peerless Great Cyclic Pellet had appeared in front of him. A peerless Great Cyclic Pellet was even more powerful than a top-notch Tier 8 medicinal pill. The degree of its preciousness was immeasurable. Because there were no peerless pills in this world, it was impossible to estimate. After looking at the Great Cyclic Pellet, Zhirong put the pill into the jade bottle in shock. The jade bottle automatically floated in the air as if it could float. Then, he shifted his gaze to another jade bottle. Without opening the jade bottle, his heart began to beat faster. The hearts of the other powerhouses were also thumping non-stop. For a moment, the atmosphere in the entire space was extremely oppressive. Everyone looked at the jade bottle, hoping that an even more heaven-defying pill would appear in the jade bottle. Ding! With a crisp sound, the jade bottle cap was opened, but a fragrance was emitted from the jade bottle. It was as if the jade bottle was empty. This situation immediately confused the dozen or so experts. Zhirong was also extremely puzzled, but he did not say anything. However, when his divine sense entered the jade bottle, his expression changed drastically. He retreated rapidly with an extremely ugly expression, as if he had seen a ghost, but he was also extremely reluctant. This commotion shocked the dozen or so powerhouses present. They didn't know what was inside the jade bottle that even Zhirong, who was at the third heaven of the martial god realm, was like this. At this moment, Zhirong took a deep breath and walked toward the jade bottle. His expression changed. There was shock and fear on his face, excitement and anticipation. Chapter 853, The Power of the Pill, 1. The powerhouses present watched as Zhirong walked toward the jade bottle, and their hearts trembled with his footsteps. Soon, Zhirong arrived in front of the jade bottle and used his divine sense again. This time, he was no longer as shocked as before. Swoosh! With a sound of wind, an ancient pellet flew out. The pellet was also the size of a thumb, but it no longer had any fragrance. However, after the medicinal pill appeared, all the experts' hearts trembled. This was because the air seemed extremely quiet in front of this pill. Moreover, the pill emitted a mysterious spirituality like a living Holy Spirit, and it was the kind of spirituality that carried extremely high intelligence. Swoosh, swoosh. Hoo hoo. For a moment, the medicinal pill spun and danced in the air, as lively as a child. Spirituality, powerful spirituality. The characteristics of a Tier 8 medicinal pill. Only a true Tier 8 medicinal pill would have such spirituality, and only a Tier 8 medicinal pill would have the chance to possess spirituality. Spiritual, a pill with spiritual properties. Tier 8 medicinal pill. It's indeed a Tier 8 medicinal pill. Yeah, only a Tier 8 medicinal pill has the chance to possess spirituality. This is a Tier 8 medicinal pill. All the experts could not help but start discussing. Their eyes turned strangely as the medicinal pills flew in the air. At this moment, their eyes and attention were all attracted by the medicinal pills. The pills danced and spun in the air before they flew toward Li Lingtian and revolved around him. Li Lingshan's face showed a hint of kindness as he smiled. Zhirong grabbed the pill with one hand and pulled it over. Although the pill had spirituality, it had been sealed before and did not have the slightest bit of resistance. If it was not sealed, even a martial god expert might not be able to easily catch it. A Ray Dao seal. The lightning crack mark is actually a Tier 8 medicinal pill that has experienced the pill tribulation. The color is perfect. There are no impurities at all. The quality has already reached an impeccable level. An 8th grade mutated, peerless spirit concentration pill. At this moment, Lin Zhirong's voice started to tremble. As a super expert at the third heaven of the martial god realm and a proud son of heaven, he had seen countless treasures and pills. However, in front of this pill, he was completely shocked and lost his composure. When he spoke word by word. All the experts were stunned. They could not believe their ears. However, the people here were all martial saints and martial gods. Naturally, they would not have misheard. Grade 8 Spirit Concentration Pill. And a peerless variant? 2 heaven-defying, 2 heaven-defying. As expected of the divine martial continent's #1 divine alchemist. Even a god pill refiner might not be able to refine a peerless grade variant spirit concentration pill. Who else in the divine martial continent can refine peerless pills? Who else can refine a peerless and mutated medicinal pill? It's impossible for a second one to appear in the divine martial continent. The divine martial continent's #1 alchemy saint is indeed a genius in alchemy. He's only in his 20s. It's not impossible for him to become the #1 alchemy master in the divine martial continent in the future. It's not impossible. It's just a matter of time. No one can refine a peerless mutated pill at the same time. At this moment, the dozen or so powerhouses were already beyond shocked. He stared at the medicinal pill. There was an array formation seal on it, but he could see the quality and grade of the medicinal pill. At this moment, although everyone did not bring the medicinal pills in front of them to size them up, their powerful divine senses simply ignored this distance. Almost all of them sized up the medicinal pill. This medicinal pill was definitely a peerless mutated spirit concentration pill. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Lin Zhirong was also extremely shocked. He still could not believe that he would meet such an existence one day. In his opinion, the third sky of the martial god realm was already a transcendent existence in the divine martial continent. In addition to his strength and methods, he was almost invincible. There was nothing that could shock him. However, a medicinal pill had almost made him lose his composure. "I'll give you these 2 pills." Among those present, only Li Lingtian and Bei Minxue were awake and relaxed. Bei Minxue had seen Li Lingshan's pills before and had already experienced it a few times. It was natural for her to do so. Li Lingtian spoke indifferently with a smile on his face. To him, refining this pill was just a matter of time. "Give it to me?" Lin Zhirong could not believe Li Lingshan's words. To him, this elixir was definitely not as precious as some middle-grade superior-grade divine artifacts. To a third heaven martial god like him, he would rather have this elixir than a divine artifact. This was because this medicinal pill could give him a chance to break through. Breaking through to the first stage could increase his strength in an all-round way, allowing his body to sublimate. Moreover, this elixir was definitely unique in the divine martial continent. Only Li Lingtian could refine it. Naturally, she was shocked when she heard Li Lingtian say that he would give her the elixir. Merely a tier 8 medicinal pill. Li Lingtian looked at Lin Zhirong's expression and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. There was a hint of indifference in his smile. It was just like how this medicinal pill was a trivial matter to him. It was indeed the case. To him, this medicinal pill was indeed not worth mentioning. He only needed some time. After hearing this, all the experts were stunned. Their faces revealed a crazy expression, and then they had the urge to kill. Such a pill was a heaven-defying existence, yet it was so worthless in Li Lingshan's eyes. How could he not be devastated? However, even though this young man was only a martial saint, no one dared to provoke him with his current status. He was the divine martial continent's #1 saint alchemist, the honorary elder of the Alchemist Guild, and the hundreds of thousands of top alchemists under the Alchemist Guild. Who could provoke him? "Thank you, Sir Lingtian. In the future, if Sir Lingtian needs this book or me, please feel free to instruct me." Seeing Li Lingshan's expression, Lin Zhirong was certain that he was not joking. He excitedly put away the pills and used his true essence to pass the badge to Li Lingtian. He said seriously. Originally, he still called himself this young master, but he felt that it was inappropriate, so he changed it to me. Li Lingtian and Bei Minxue witnessed this change and knew that Lin Zhirong's heart had been defeated by the pill. Alright, let's not talk about anything else. I can easily refine your pills. I can also refine peerless pills that the divine martial continent can refine. I can also refine pills for you that others can't. Li Lingtian revealed a serious smile that was brimming with confidence. This was a kind of confidence in his strength because he had the ability and strength to be confident. Whoosh! Instantly, the experts were in an uproar. What else could they ask for if they could obtain the title of the divine martial continent's #1 alchemy saint? Their cultivation base would simply rise in a straight line. It was completely a cheating tool for martial artists. Lin Zhirong was shocked as well. He did not expect Li Lingtian to behave like this. However, Li Lingshan's alchemy skills were indeed powerful. He was so powerful that the 5 of them could match him. Hence, it was a piece of cake for him to do these things. The prerequisite was that Li Lingtian had to be in a good mood. If the other party was unwilling to refine pills, he could play with the pills to death. Lin Zhirong doesn't want to thank you, but you will understand in the future. Lin Zhirong's expression was extremely serious. He no longer looked down on Li Lingtian. Behind him was the Alchemist Guild and the Baiming family. These two alone were not something any powerhouse could afford to provoke. Furthermore, no one was willing to provoke Li Lingtian with his status. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would never provoke a spirit alchemist, let alone a saint alchemist. As for the #1 saint alchemist of the divine martial continent, even a fool would not want to provoke him. Get lost. His tone toward Li Lingtian was polite and did not carry the airs of a third heaven martial god powerhouse. However, after turning around, he looked at the dozen or so experts with cold eyes and roared. His tall figure and loud voice were like thunder, almost scaring the dozen or so experts to death. Swoosh, swoosh. So, when the voice fell, more than a dozen experts wished they had 2 more legs. They did not dare to stay here for a long time. Even though he wanted to curry favor with a saint alchemist, he was afraid of a third firmament war god powerhouse. The sound of air being torn apart rang out in the sky. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 experts disappeared. The power of the third firmament of the war god realm was truly not for show. Just this realm alone made all the powerhouses tremble in fear. Li Lingtian did not hesitate when he saw that all the powerhouses had left. In a flash, he arrived at the center of the lake and kept the token. He's my sister's friend, and also my friend. Bei Mingxu's sweet voice rang out after Li Lingtian returned. This was also the answer to Lin Zhirong's earlier curiosity about why she was with Li Lingtian. I see. Lin Zhirong's face revealed an expression of I see. However, he was no longer surprised. Although Li Lingshan's cultivation was only at the martial saint level and he did not seem to have a high cultivation level, Li Lingtian was only in his 20s. Furthermore, he was the #1 alchemy saint of the divine martial continent. With such strength and status, he was definitely a monster among monsters. Let's go and find some more tokens. Li Lingtian replied calmly before he swiftly flew into the distance. Bei Minxue quickly followed behind. Lin Zhirong followed without hesitation. The 3 of them flew quickly on the island. The more tokens they held, the larger the area they could sense. Li Lingtian and Bei Mingxu's cultivation base was nothing on the island, but with Lin Zhirong around, they were invincible. Wherever they passed, they would either be killed or handed over the token. Along the way, he was successful in almost everything. But there were also times when things didn't go his way. After the 3 of them left the lake, they flew in the air like meteors and fought for some tokens. On the 3rd day, the 3 of them suddenly stopped, and their faces revealed a surprised expression. Chapter 855. Dark Dao Intent, 1. The 1,000-meter-long Yinglong emitted an aura that tore through space in the air, causing the space to tremble. Its huge wings were 100 meters long. Every time it flapped, the destructive wind seemed to destroy the world. Yinglong Incarnation. Dragon Clan Cultivation Technique. Lin Zhirong looked at the sky in shock. At this moment, he felt extremely small in front of the huge and terrifying Yinglong. Dragons were the legends of humans and the supreme beings of the demon race. They were also a high-level race that could destroy the world. It was in his nature to revere dragons. Now that Li Lingtian had transformed into a 1,000-meter-long winged dragon, Lin Zhirong was completely shocked. He was a third sky martial god expert, and his combat strength was at the top of the pyramid in the divine martial continent. Coupled with the strength of the Lin family, he naturally knew some things about the dragon race. At the very least, he could recognize the level of the dragon. He did not expect Li Lingtian to reach the level of the Yinglong incarnation. The only explanation was that Li Lingtian had cultivated a genuine dragon tribe's cultivation technique. The power of the flying rain dragon could destroy the world. The dragon energy suppression had reached its peak. Li Lingshan's true dragon body barrier was now at level 6, which was equivalent to the first firmament martial god realm. In the sky, the destructive pressure of the dragon's might filled the entire world. The dragon's might was not weaker than the green-robed scholar at the third firmament of the war god realm. Instead, it was even more overbearing. Green-robed scholar, I underestimated you last time. This time show me your true abilities. Li Lingshan's winged dragon form flapped its huge wings and its destructive claws tore through space. His voice was as loud as thunder, like a dragon roaring in the sky. The destructive dragon's might continued to press down on him as he looked at the blue-robed scholar with a domineering aura. All right, you were lucky to escape last time. I want to see how powerful your Yinglong incarnation is. The blue-robed scholar looked at the Yinglong incarnation in the sky and then at Lin Zhirong. He knew his current situation. It was obvious that Lin Zhirong was on Li Lingshan's side. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had transformed into the flying dragon and was extremely powerful. It was impossible for them to defeat him so easily. The only way was to defeat Li Lingtian and find a way to leave this place. The war god's pride and dignity did not make him cower in the slightest. The pressure from his entire body erupted, continuously colliding with the dragon's might of the Yinglong. Rumble! In the void, the blue-robed scholar was like a god of war. The destructive might of the god of war erupted, causing the world to tremble. The dragon's might was like the might of the heavens. The dragon's might emitted by the huge Yinglong, coupled with the shocking dragon qi, instantly resisted the pressure of the blue-robed scholar. Waves of pressure bombarded him. The world was torn apart. Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue were shocked and quickly retreated. Although the two of them knew that Li Lingtian was powerful, they did not expect him to be this powerful. Moreover, the battle between the two people in the air completely exceeded the battle between ordinary experts. This was a battle of life and death. Roar! The Yinglong roared violently, and a shocking dragon might pressed down from the sky. The clouds in the sky turned into dark clouds, and thunder surged into the sky. The power of the war god. The blue-robed scholar's expression was solemn. He shouted and unleashed the shocking power of the martial god. The power of the martial god stirred the world and a destructive power bombarded the Yinglong. The power of the Yinglong. The Yinglong did not hesitate at all when it saw the destructive power of the martial god attack. It grabbed at the air with its huge claws. At this moment, a huge crack appeared in the world. 6 huge winged dragons appeared from the void and fiercely met the power of the martial god. There were 6 Yinglong that were 100 meters long. These Yinglong were not the embodiment of the Yinglong, but the attack unleashed by the Yinglong. The air was distorted by the 2 destructive attacks. In the time it took to suck, the 2 attacks collided. When the 6 winged dragons collided with the martial god's power, they instantly fused together. Instantly, an aura that could destroy the heavens and earth exploded, and a terrifying wind raged. Rumble! Kacha! After a loud explosion, the space was torn apart, and cracking sounds could be heard. Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue were both pushed back by the destructive force. At that moment, the azure-robed layman swayed his body and was thrown backward. Li Lingtian, who had transformed into a winged dragon, shuddered but did not take a single step back. With this attack, the strength and defense between the two were on full display. The third firmament martial god's attack could destroy the world, but Li Lingshan's Yinglong form was equally terrifying. Such an attack would destroy any first firmament war god it encountered. With one move, Li Lingtian possessed a terrifying defense and strength, giving him a slight advantage. On the other hand, the layman in cyan robe was not injured despite retreating. Tear! A dignified voice sounded. The Yinglong's huge claws ruthlessly clawed in the direction of the blue-robed scholar, and a huge hole was instantly torn in the space. This spatial crack happened to appear behind the blue-robed scholar. His retreating figure was caught off guard and fell into the spatial crack. Rumble! When the blue-robed scholar entered the spatial rift, the Yinglong flapped its huge wings, and a destructive wind appeared, instantly closing the spatial rift. At the same time, its huge body also bombarded the crack. The space shook and then shattered like a mirror. Yinglong's control of space had already reached the extreme. It almost ignored the distance of space and directly tore through the void. His strength broke through the firmament and traveled 1,000 miles in an instant. In an instant, the Yinglong's huge body arrived in front of the crack, and its 100-meter-long tail smashed fiercely into the crack. The huge tail brought with it destructive dragon energy as it ruthlessly struck the crack. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion shook the earth. The destructive dragon energy hit the crack hard. At this time, the blue-robed scholar struggled out of the crack, and his struggling body hit the tail. One was not on guard, and the other was on purpose. Under one attack, the azure-robed scholar was instantly reduced to ashes. Blood spurted out, and his body was thrown out like a kite with a broken string. In the air, the blood that the blue-robed scholar spat out turned into a blood curtain, and his body swayed. 1,000 miles in an instant. Tear! The Yinglong had no intention of stopping. With a flick of its huge tail, its body disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already behind the blue-robed scholar. This was the terror of the Yinglong. It could travel 1,000 miles in an instant and ignore the distance of space. He controlled space and almost dominated martial artists and all living things. The huge body did not have any aura or spatial fluctuations. When it arrived behind the blue-robed scholar, the blue-robed scholar did not know at all. The huge claw made a tearing motion toward the blue-robed scholar who was sent flying. It pulled fiercely, and a huge hole appeared in the space. Shifting form, transposition, golden cicada shedding its shell. Sensing the aura of death and dragon energy, the azure-robed scholar's heart trembled. At this moment, he no longer dared to underestimate Li Lingtian. After being tricked a few times, he had fully unleashed the martial god's spirit power. Phew! In the air, the blue-robed scholar's entire body turned into a bloody curtain. At this moment, space seemed to have stopped. The blue-robed scholar, who was about to enter the spatial rift, stopped strangely. His body twisted strangely and disappeared from the world. This strange action shocked Lin Zhirong and Bei Mingxue. The two of them cast a terrifying defense on the horizon as they watched the battle between Li Lingtian and the blue-robed scholar in horror. Both of them were the favored sons and daughters of the heavens and were also super martial god powerhouses. They never expected that Li Lingtian and the blue-clothed scholar would engage in such a huge battle. The blue-robed scholar's figure turned into a curtain and disappeared. The world temporarily fell silent. The Yinglong floated in the air, its huge tail wagging non-stop. Come out! The huge eyeball scanned the surroundings, but there was no sign of the blue-robed scholar in the air. However, at this moment, a violent roar sounded, and the huge tail smashed towards a place with the power to tear through space. Rumble! The tail struck down with an explosive sound. The huge tail seemed to have hit a huge mountain. The azure-robed scholar appeared in the air as well. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, but a treasure the size of a small mountain appeared in his hand. The Yinglong's attack landed on the treasure that was the size of a small mountain. I underestimated you. The azure-robed scholar's face was pale, and blood kept flowing out. He looked at Yinglong coldly. He did not expect that a second sky of the martial Saint Realm expert would cultivate such a terrifying dragon race cultivation method. Moreover, he had even transformed into a Yinglong. The Yinglong had powerful control over space and its power could tear apart the world. Being suppressed by Yinglong for a moment, he had already lost all his face. Third Firmament War God. Nothing more than this. You've embarrassed the war god. Yinglong's voice sounded, and his eyes revealed a disdainful expression. At that moment, he was extremely cautious. Even though his strength and defense had increased after his incarnation, Yinglong was still Li Lingtian. If a third Firmament War God were to get serious, it would indeed be difficult to deal with. His attack just now had been blocked by the other party. He had lost the initiative and did not dare to make the first move. The only thing he could do was to unleash his terrifying dragon chi and use the destructive dragon might to suppress the blue-robed scholar, forcing him to make a move and infuriating him at the same time. All right, then I'll show you the might of the war god. The power of darkness, the will of darkness. The expression on the blue-robed scholar's face changed several times. The mountain-like treasure in his hand blocked in front of him, and his terrifying true essence began to reverse. The damage that he had received had strangely disappeared at this time, and his entire spirit had reached its peak state. At this moment, a dark aura appeared in the world. The dark aura corroded the entire world. In an instant, the world darkened and then turned pitch black. There wasn't even a single ray of light. This darkness was completely incomparable to the darkness of the night. It blocked all light, and the air seemed to have turned black. When the black-robed scholar appeared, he disappeared completely as if he had fused into the darkness. Chapter 856. The Fall of a Third Firmament War God. 1. Golden Light, 10,000 feet. Lin Zhirong's expression changed as he watched the darkness engulf the world. With a light shout, he activated his metal-type martial soul and drew a line in the air with one hand. The golden light was 10,000 feet tall, instantly negating the darkness in front of him, and his figure quickly retreated. Bei Mingxue also took advantage of this golden light to dodge, leaving far away from the darkness. After the two of them left, they looked worriedly into the darkness. This dark area was hundreds of miles wide. They did not know how Li Lingtian was doing inside. Even though they were martial god powerhouses, they were simply courting death in the face of darkness. They did not expect the azure-robed scholar to possess the dark Dao intent. I wonder if Sir Ling Tian can dispel this Dao intent of darkness? At this moment, Lin Zhirong looked at the dark world and became worried. After all, the Dao intent of darkness was too rare. Not many people had seen it before. In the dark world, the blue-robed scholar was the master. Even if the two of them entered, they would only die. Don't worry. His 5 elements Dao intent is heaven-defying. This won't be a problem for him. Bei Mingxue stared at the dark world in the distance. The shocking darkness was like a surging demonic cloud. There was a look of concern in his eyes. Even though he sounded relaxed, he was extremely worried. He was only shocked by Li Lingxian's strength and was not confident at all. He did not know if Li Lingtian would be able to overcome this darkness. Looking at the dark world, even if it was her, there was nothing she could do. Rumble! In the dark world, there was an explosion as if it was being attacked by Li Lingxian's Yinglong. In the endless darkness, the 1,000-meter-long body of the Yinglong struggled continuously. However, even if he had the power to destroy the world, the ability to tear the void, and the divine power to control space, it was useless against this pitch-black world. At this moment, a destructive power struck his body. He only realized it when it came to his body. This power was as if it was in the dark, and it was impossible to guard against it. Yinglong was hit by the destructive attack and was thrown out. Nothing could be seen in the dark world. After suffering the mysterious attack, Li Lingtian reverted to his original form with traces of blood trickling down the corner of his mouth. Dark will. Li Lingtian looked at the dark world. He could not see anything but darkness before his eyes. He was shocked. He didn't expect that there was a dark Dao intent in this world. Previously, he had known about the 5 elements will, sword will, saber will, and some other mystical wills. He had also known about the dark will. However, he had not expected it to appear in the divine martial continent. No wonder the last time he fought with the blue-robed scholar, the vicious cultivation technique that the blue-robed scholar used at the end caused his injuries to be unable to heal. This was probably due to the cultivation technique of the blue-robed scholar or the use of the dark Dao intent. The will of darkness carried a corrosive power, eroding the true essence and cultivation of experts. Since you're courting death, don't blame me. Li Lingtian thought to himself as a cruel expression appeared on his face. Eye of the Divine Soul break. As soon as he finished speaking, he used the Eye of the Divine Soul. The destructive divine sense in his sea of consciousness continued to press down on the will of the way of darkness. The divine senses covered the sky and covered the earth. There were countless divine senses, and each divine sense carried the consciousness of destruction. Just as he was about to unleash his divine consciousness, the sound of blood spurting came from the darkness. Li Lingshan's face was filled with murderous intent as he flashed away. Reaching out with one hand, Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light appeared in his hand. Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light immediately erupted with a destructive might as waves of mysterious flames coiled around Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light. At the same time, Li Lingshan's quintessential essence was drained by the Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch. The Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch unleashed a double attack. Then, he waved his hand and Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light turned into a blur. When this blur appeared, the attack had already shot out. Double the attack, double the speed, the power of double and double was beyond the imagination of the experts. Ah! Rumble! The sound of blood spurting out once again appeared. After this sound of blood spurting, a miserable cry appeared, and the miserable cry resounded throughout the world. It caused the sky to tremble. Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue, who were standing far away, could not help but tremble when they heard the voice. They thought it was Li Lingshan's scream. After all, this dark world was created by Layman's Cyan Robe. In this world, Layman's Cyan Robe was the master. Moreover, the moment the dark world appeared, screams were heard. It was most likely Li Lingtian. Otherwise, it would be impossible to defeat the blue-robed scholar in the ruler realm. At the very least, there would not be enough time. In fact, the entire process from the appearance of the dark world to Li Lingtian unleashing the Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch only took about 10 seconds. Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue were worried, but what happened next stunned them. With a loud explosion, the dark world disappeared. The world returned to normal, and it was as if the dark world had never appeared. Li Lingtian hovered in the air with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. However, he was in good spirits and his expression was calm. The Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch in his hand still carried faint flames. He looked extremely domineering, like a god of war standing proudly between heaven and earth. However, the blue-robed scholar opposite him wasn't so good. One of the azure-robed scholar's arms had disappeared. His face was extremely pale, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Furthermore, there was a mysterious flame on his arm that was exactly the same as the flame on Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light's body. The true essence in his body was constantly eroded by the flames. For the time being, it did not seem to be much of a threat. However, as time passed, the flames would also exhaust the true essence of the blue-robed scholar. Hush! Both of them sighed in relief when they saw Li Lingtian and the blue-robed scholar's expressions. Initially, the azure-robed scholar's dark Dao intent was so powerful that it was equivalent to a domain when he unleashed the dark world. However, he did not expect Li Lingtian to destroy it in the blink of an eye. Moreover, he was missing an arm. His injuries were not optimistic. Li Lingtian, right? Not bad. I didn't expect that even my Dao intent of darkness would be broken. But now that you have no true essence, what chance do you have to resist my destructive attack? Go to hell. The layman in indigo took a look at his arm. His arm was gone, but there was still a mysterious and terrifying flame on it. If he did not finish Li Lingtian off and leave this place, he would not have a chance to suppress his injuries. Moreover, there was no chance for them to leave this place. After all, Lin Zhirong was still eyeing them covetously. He couldn't give up on this opportunity. As soon as he finished speaking, a sinister smile appeared on his face. He grabbed at the air with his remaining arm and a dark power gathered. The dark force formed a powerful sword. With a wave of his hand, the sword slashed at Li Lingtian. Suddenly, the space trembled, and the dark power corroded the world. The entire space was extremely terrifying. It was as if they had arrived in hell. Sir Lingtian. Lingtian. Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue were shocked by the changes in front of them. Although Li Lingtian was in good spirits, he had no true essence left in his body. He was completely powerless against the green-robed scholar who was at the third heaven of the martial god realm. Even a random martial emperor powerhouse could easily crush Li Lingtian, let alone a third firmament martial god. Under this strike, the layman in indigo had used all his strength and murderous intent. Under this strike, Li Lingtian had no chance of escaping. Seeing this situation, it was already too late for him to make a move. He shouted loudly. Just as the two of them were about to dash over, they saw a disdainful smile on Li Lingshan's lips. The blue-robed scholar, Lin Zhirong, and Bei Mingxue saw his smile. But they did not know why Li Lingtian was still smiling in such a disdainful manner. Following that, the three of them were shocked. The azure-robed scholar who had launched the attack had already imagined the outcome of Li Lingxian's disappearance. However, before he could finish thinking about it, his expression changed and finally turned into horror and despair. Li Lingxian's divine consciousness moved and a pill entered his mouth. The medicinal pill emitted waves of medicinal fragrance, causing one's spirit to be refreshed. When the medicinal pill entered one's mouth, the true essence consumed in one's body instantly recovered. The exhausted true essence had already reached the peak state of perfection at this time. At the same time as his quintessential essence recovered, Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch swung out once again. Instantly, a light shadow drew out in the sky. The light shadow tore through the void, and this light shadow carried raging flames. Although the blue-robed scholar had made the first move before Li Lingtian had already unleashed Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch's attack when he unleashed his shadow attack. With double the power and speed, he attacked the dark attack first. Rumble! With an explosive sound, Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light's doubled speed and power struck the sharp sword formed by the dark chi. Instantly, the sharp sword turned into a shadow and disappeared. Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light's attack struck the green-robed scholar's body relentlessly. Gotcha! Tear it! Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light's attack landed on the green-robed scholar's body with the power to tear through the void. The despair in the azure-robed layman's eyes turned ashen. He was already injured and he did not use his full strength to attack Li Lingtian, who was a warrior without any true essence. Furthermore, he still had the strength to escape. He never expected that Li Lingtian would recover his quintessential essence in an instant, and the Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch's destructive attack would land on him. His entire body was torn apart and finally turned into ashes. The world fell silent. The azure-robed scholar, who had been at the peak of the third heaven of the martial god realm, had fallen. Lin Zhirong and Bei Mingxue were both shocked by this. They stared blankly at Li Lingtian in the distance. This change was beyond their imagination. They initially thought that Li Lingtian would not be able to destroy the world of darkness, but in the end, Li Lingtian easily destroyed the world of darkness. However, his true essence was depleted. In the face of a destructive attack, he instantly recovered his true essence and killed the careless blue-robed scholar, causing him to completely disappear from this world. I recommend the new book, Ancient Sage Myriad Ancient King. Everyone is welcome to read it and save it. I need everyone's support. Only with everyone's support can the new book go further. Everyone, please collect the Eternal Holy King first. Well, look at it after you've fattened up. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 857. A Godlike Legend, 1. The world finally quieted down. Lin Zhirong and Bei Mingxue moved swiftly to Li Lingxian's side. Although the two of them looked calm on the surface, they were shocked in their hearts. After all, they had seen the second sky of the martial saint realm kill the third sky of the martial god realm. They knew how terrifying the will of darkness was. Even if they encountered it, they might not be able to break it easily. However, they did not expect Li Lingtian to be able to break it so easily, and even injure the azure-robed scholar. Naturally, they did not know that Li Lingtian was also injured inside. Furthermore, he had relied on his heaven-defying divine consciousness to defeat the azure-robed scholar and break the dark Tao intent. Li Lingxian's divine consciousness was so powerful that it far exceeded that of a powerhouse of the same rank. Even a martial god powerhouse might not be as powerful as his divine consciousness. Coupled with the heaven-defying talent of the Eye of Divine Soul, after using it, the power of the divine sense could simply be said to be heaven-defying. Naturally, the layman in indigo did not expect Li Lingtian to use such a simple move to destroy the dark world. In fact, he knew the weakness of the dark will, but no one dared to use their consciousness to attack. It should be known that the consciousness of ordinary experts was directly proportional to their cultivation. If they used their consciousness to attack, they would become an idiot after being reflected. Moreover, when they were reflected, they would temporarily lose all consciousness. When an expert lost consciousness in a battle, it meant that they had lost their lives. Naturally, over time, martial artists did not dare to use divine sense attacks. The azure-robed scholar did not expect Li Lingtian to attack with his divine consciousness. Furthermore, Li Lingshan's divine consciousness was far more powerful than he had imagined. After being attacked by his divine consciousness, he lost consciousness temporarily. This allowed Li Lingtian to unleash Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch. Since the Diablo world had been destroyed, it was much easier to strengthen it later on. Seeing that Li Lingtian did not have any true essence, the layman in indigo could easily erase him. However, Li Lingtian had the heaven-defying pill which could instantly restore his vital essence. Two unexpected events had caused the fall of the third firmament of the war god realm. "How are you?" Bei Minxue quickly went forward to support Li Lingtian when she saw his quintessential essence disappear again after he cast Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch. At the same time, her beautiful eyes glanced at Heavenly Monarch Crimson Light. This terrifying treasure was simply earth-shattering. The consumption of quintessential essence was too terrifying. It would drain all of his quintessential essence after just one use. However, this was also due to Crimson Light Heavenly Monarch's dominance. Otherwise, how could a second Heaven Martial Saint destroy a third Heaven Martial God with one strike? Fine. I was tricked in the Diablo world. Li Lingtian shook his head. In the Diablo world, the Yinglong incarnation was of the light attribute, which was the complete opposite of the darkness attribute. Naturally, it lost its advantage. Otherwise, Li Lingtian would have killed the blue-robed scholar with the power of the Yinglong's power. The previous incident was a good example. After Li Lingtian transformed into the flying dragon, he was almost tyrannical to the blue-clothed layman. I didn't expect Sir Lingtian's strength to reach this stage. It's truly unimaginable, Lin Zhirong said sincerely. After all, he had witnessed Li Lingtian killing the layman in green with his own eyes. Even he might not be able to kill the layman in green, but Li Lingtian had done it. When he thought of how Li Lingtian had abused the green-robed scholar after transforming into the winged dragon, he still felt a little apprehensive. He was at the peak of the third sky of the martial god realm, yet he was being bullied by a second sky of the martial saint realm. I was still injured. However, in this world on the path of martial arts, one's realm doesn't necessarily control everything. Everything is reasonable and unexpected. Li Lingshan's expression was calm as if killing a third firmament martial god was nothing. Then, he went forward and put away the storage bag and the small mountain that the blue-robed scholar had dropped. These were the wealth of the blue-robed scholar. After a quick check, he found that there were 16 tokens in the green-robed scholar's storage bag. Now, he had 49 tokens in total. In other words, half of the 99 tokens were in his hands. In this way, he now controlled the fate of half of the people. If he wanted to enter the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, he had to obtain the token. Lin Zhirong was puzzled as he watched Li Lingtian collect the wealth of the layman in indigo. Naturally, a heaven-defying monster like Li Lingtian would not lack treasures and spiritual stones. However, Li Lingtian was like a money grubber now. At the same time, he was speechless. He had killed a third firmament martial god and even said that he was injured. If the experts outside knew about this, their jaws would drop. A second Sky Martial Saint killed a third Sky Martial God Realm expert with only a small injury. If he was still not satisfied, then he was someone from above. Generally speaking, a Martial Saint powerhouse would not even have the chance to resist in front of a Martial God powerhouse. The fact that he was able to escape from the Martial God was something that shocked the entire divine martial continent. Compared to a character like Li Lingtian, those monsters and geniuses from the past were nothing. Do you know his experience? Bei Minxue saw Lin Zhirong's expression and knew what he was thinking. A proud daughter like her, a proud son of heaven like Lin Zhirong, and the family behind them were completely focused on cultivation. They would not lack resources. They had endless pills and resources to cultivate. It was completely piled up by heaven-defying medicinal pills and cultivation techniques. Taking risks was simply impossible. Naturally, they didn't know the hardships of a rogue cultivator. They had to fight for resources, avoid killing people for treasures, and take risks. Often, countless geniuses would die for resources. Countless geniuses were fighting for resources and throwing their corpses into the wilderness. On the other hand, Li Lingtian was a rogue cultivator who had climbed up step by step on his own. In just a dozen years, The hardships and dangers they encountered were incomparable to others in their entire lives. Only those who walked through this path were truly strong. In just a dozen years, Li Lingtian had the experience of a martial god of 1 to 2,000 years, or even more. I don't know, Lin Zhirong said straightforwardly with a look of surprise on his face. In his heart, Li Lingtian was definitely groomed by that super clan. Otherwise, he would have reached such a heaven-defying level in just a dozen years of cultivation. He's a rogue cultivator, and a rogue cultivator that's called trash. He was a martial apprentice at the age of 14, and he climbed step by step to his current achievements. I've been through countless life and death situations. I've been hovering on the edge of life and death every day. I've been entangled with resources and enemies every day. I rarely have time to cultivate. However, he grew stronger step by step. He was arrogant, unyielding, and overbearing. He rose like a comet, defying the natural order. Everything he did was earth-shattering. He has created countless miracles. The places he lives in are all legendary existences. The geniuses of the divine martial continent are like fireflies and the bright moon in front of him. Bimingsu recounted some of Li Lingxian's matters as if she was telling a story. The places he mentioned were all earth-shattering, life-and-death adventures, and existences that shocked the world. Lin Zhirong was shocked. He never thought that a young man who was called trash could achieve such heaven-defying achievements. He did not expect that a young man from such a poor and remote place like Qingzhou could make the world tremble. Previously, Li Lingtian was a transcendent miracle, but now, he was like an unreachable true god, standing proudly above the heavens and the earth. Heaven has bestowed a great responsibility on him. Lin Zhirong could only sigh after hearing the story. There were no words to describe Li Lingxian's strength and heaven-defying nature, as well as Li Lingxian's miracle and legend. Such miracles and legends were created by a person's unyielding will. He had never looked down on any low-level martial artist or anyone without talent. In his heart, only a few geniuses in the divine continent could make him admire them. Those geniuses were all heaven-defying geniuses from the 10 great families and 10 great forces, carrying endless halos. However, those halos paled in comparison to Li Lingxian's. Let's go. I'll find a place to heal first. After Li Lingtian had sorted out the treasures of the layman in indigo, he noticed that Lin Zhirong and the other man were looking at him strangely. Hence, he spoke calmly. Although he was doing something else, his divine sense was extremely powerful. Everything within a radius of 10,000 miles was controlled in his sea of consciousness, let alone the conversation between the two people beside him. These things were nothing to him. Because everyone had different responsibilities, and naturally, different sacrifices were needed. He wanted to become the strongest, protect the woman he loved, and control his own fate. Therefore, he had to put in an unimaginable amount of effort. As soon as he finished speaking, he walked forward step by step. This time he did not fly. Instead, he walked on the island like he was taking a stroll. The thin back view, in the eyes of the two, became a majestic mountain range. This back view became a natural moat that they could not cross. Following that, Li Lingtian found a quieter cave to heal his wounds while Tang Qingyue and the rest came out. Although Li Lingxian's cultivation base had improved and his control over the divine dragon ring had also improved to another level, the time Tang Qingyue and the rest spent cultivating in the ring had also changed. It was not a problem for them to cultivate for a year. A year inside was only half a year outside. Naturally, as long as they were allowed to come out within half a year outside, there would not be any impact. However, staying in there for too long would not do them any good. On the contrary, it felt more natural outside. Moreover, there was no danger now. Little brother Ling Tian, how many more tokens do you need to find? Yun Yaoyao waited for Li Lingxian's injuries to stabilize before she approached him and asked curiously. The other girls were also looking at Li Lingtian curiously. They did not know why Li Lingtian wanted so many tokens. 3 days have passed. 3 days have passed. I don't plan to look for the token anymore. I'll go inside and find Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Even if I have the token, I don't want it. After all, I'm already injured. I have to recover before entering Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Otherwise it will affect the future. Li Lingxian's expression was calm. As he spoke, the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. Naturally, he would not allow himself to enter the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace with injuries just for the token. After all, the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was extremely mysterious and filled with unknown dangers. Chapter 858. The Last Token, 1. Actually, these tokens are useless in our hands. Tang Ziming said earnestly when she learned that Li Lingtian already had 49 tokens. Even if they each had a token, they wouldn't need 49. At that time, he still had to take out the token. Otherwise, the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace would not be able to open. I will naturally be useful when the time comes, Li Lingtian said with a smile. If it was useless, he would not have gotten so many of them. Following that, Li Lingtian focused all of his energy on healing his injuries. Tang Qingyue and the rest had a rare break outside, so they naturally went out to play. After resting in the cave for a full day, Li Lingtian left the cave and quickly flew forward. It was unknown how far this place was from Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. He could only roughly know the location of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace from the array of the 99 tokens. Although he did not know how to enter Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, he had to at least find Xiaoyao Immortal Palace first. Rumble! Li Lingtian, Bei Minxue, and Lin Zhirong flew at high speed. However, at this moment, the island began to tremble. The entire world was trembling. Moreover, the island was rapidly shrinking. Seeing this, the three of them were shocked. They did not dare to make the slightest movement. They could only stop and wait for the island to calm down in case something unexpected happened. Indeed, in the blink of an eye, the originally boundless island had now returned to its original size of 1,000 miles. All the experts who had not died were already on the island. However, there were originally more than 500 powerhouses, but now there were only more than 200. Moreover, they were all martial god powerhouses, and there were only a few ninth firmament martial saints. Rumble! Rumble! A series of earth-shattering explosions rang out on the island. Li Lingtian and the other two retreated quickly and flew backward. At the beginning, they were flying toward the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. At that time, the island was boundless. Now that the island had returned to its original form, it was only 1,000 miles wide. Their position was very close to the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Right now, there was a martial god expert fighting above Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Destructive attacks were constantly bombarding out. Li Lingtian and the rest looked at the powerhouses on top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. They finally understood what was going on because there was a token on top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Li Lingtian looked at the token with a puzzled expression as he left a powerhouse to fight for it. This was because the 49 tokens in his hands were all exactly the same. It was just that some of the auras and engravings inside were different. However, the token on top of the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was actually larger than the other tokens. Moreover, this token was emitting a scarlet color, which was different from all the other tokens. This command medallion is the 66th command medallion. It looks like this is the core of the formation. Li Lingtian looked at the token and thought to himself that it was one of the two tokens that he had asked Bei Minxue to keep an eye on previously. The 33rd token was in his hands. However, when the 99 tokens appeared, they scattered on the island. He only had his eyes on the 33rd token, but the 66th token had disappeared. He did not expect that none of the experts had made a move on the top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. It seemed that all the other tokens had been found, except for the one on the top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Just now, someone had touched the token on Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, causing the island to return to its original size. If no one touched this token, the island would not return to its original form. Similarly, if the 99 tokens were not gathered, the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace would not be able to open. In fact, all the experts would be trapped on the island forever. Now that the last token had been activated, the island returned to its original form and all the living experts gathered together. 90-something tokens were naturally not enough for a few hundred experts to distribute. It was certain that most of the experts did not have a token. Naturally, this token was the most intense competition. The casualties were also the most severe. If one affected the whole body, it would basically be a narrow escape if one wanted to gather 99 tokens. Just fighting for the token was already so intense. If they entered the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, who knew how intense it would be? At the thought of this, Li Lingtian was shocked. Similarly, the other powerhouses were aware of this problem. However, this was the nature of humans. For treasures and wealth, they would take risks, even if it was a narrow escape. Rumble. Ah! Kacha kacha. Boom. Boom. Explosions continued to ring out in the sky, and from time to time, an expert would be destroyed. Even though they saw a martial god being killed, the other experts didn't stop. They didn't just want to save face, they also wanted one last chance. There were more than 200 experts present, and no one had made a move. The experts fighting in the air did not know who had the token below, so they naturally did not dare to take the risk to make a move on the experts below. Now, he could only look at the token on the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace and would not give up easily. So, at this moment, a first firmament martial god on the ground watched the battle between the experts in the sky. He thought that he had not noticed the token. His figure flashed, wanting to take advantage of the situation. However, just as he flew up, he was attacked by several experts at the same time, and he instantly disappeared. In this place, the life of a martial god expert was extremely fragile. They were like ants. Wait a moment. If anyone goes up, stop them. With his hands behind his back, Li Lingtian stared at the token on the top of the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. He did not even notice the battle between the powerhouses. He was thinking about something, but in the end, he spoke softly to Bei Minxue and Lin Zhirong. Yes, all right. Both of them agreed without hesitation. Although they did not understand why Li Lingtian did not compete for a token in other places, he chose to compete for a token in this most dangerous place. Moreover, Li Lingtian had half of the tokens in his possession, so there was no need to take the risk. However, even though they did not have much contact with Li Lingtian, they were confident in Li Lingshan's style and methods. This was because no matter what Li Lingtian did, he always put the big picture first and had his own views. He would not take such a risk unless it was absolutely necessary. Li Lingshan's hands were clasped behind his back. He was calm and composed without a trace of fear. This scene was undoubtedly a mockery to countless super experts. A second sky of the martial saint realm was actually able to come out of danger so easily. Facing danger was like walking on flat ground, as if they were in their own backyard. After the first expert who wanted to take advantage was killed, no one dared to go up anymore. They were all waiting for the last chance, waiting for the last expert above to find an opportunity to attack. Rumble. Kacha. Chi. The destructive attacks continued. There were originally 6 experts, but now there were only 2 left. The remaining were all at the second firmament of the war god realm. The 2 of them were heavily injured and did not have much of an attack. With the sound of blood spurting out, one of the martial gods fell. The remaining second-level martial god expert in the air stood at the end, but he didn't have the slightest bit of joy. This was because he understood that he was the last person. He had become the target of all the powerhouses, and all the powerhouses were eyeing him covetously. Even a second firmament war god would not be able to withstand this pressure. I don't want it. The second sky of the war god realm expert could no longer withstand the invisible pressure brought by all the experts. His face was pale, and traces of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. With a flash of his body, he quickly left Xiaoyao Immortal Palace and landed on the ground. This situation was beyond the expectations of all the experts. He did not expect things to turn out like this. For a moment, the top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was empty. There was no one. However, the token above was floating above. Everyone looked at the token, but no one was the first to go up and take it. Li Lingtian was surprised to see this. However, in the end, he was no longer surprised. This was because this second firmament martial god was a heaven-defying supreme expert. He naturally knew when to retreat and when to retreat. His mind was also calm. He would not instantly destroy himself for the token, so it was normal for him to retreat. The island was silent for a moment. However, the atmosphere in the air was strange and oppressive. No one spoke. No one fought for the token, but they all looked at the token. CCCC. CCCC. The sound of the wind also became strange at this moment. All the experts felt extremely uncomfortable in this strange atmosphere. I want this token. At this moment, the silence in the air was broken by a calm voice. All the experts were stunned and turned to look at the person who spoke. When they saw the person who spoke, their expressions changed several times. There was anger, confusion, mockery, disdain, and even more shock. It was because the person who spoke was actually a martial saint, a second sky martial saint that everyone looked down upon. In this place, this second sky of the martial saint realm was simply an ant. The second sky of the martial saint realm dared to speak at this time, which made people puzzled. A second sky martial saint asking for this token made them angry because a second sky martial saint actually ignored all the experts here. What was shocking was that this second sky of the martial saint realm could survive on this island for so long. Indeed, the person who spoke was Li Lingtian. As soon as Li Lingtian finished speaking, he walked forward step by step, completely ignoring the gazes of all the powerhouses. He was elegant and had a smile on his face. Gotcha! Under everyone's watchful eyes, Li Lingtian walked toward Xiaoyao's celestial palace step by step. Gradually, he stood up and walked in the air as if he was climbing a flight of stairs. This was not a big deal because any powerhouse could achieve this. However, the void trembled with every step Li Lingtian took. Furthermore, the inferno world beneath Li Lingtian's feet was terrifying as if it was going to burn everything in its path. On the other side was a world of ice, as if it wanted to freeze the world. Every step he took left behind a fiery footprint and an icy footprint. The two extreme destruction attributes were too close to each other, but there was no repulsion between them. Li Lingtian walked a distance of dozens of miles step by step. Although he seemed slow, each step he took covered a distance of 1 to 2 miles. He was extremely confident and did not put on any airs. Chapter 859. Rainbow Bridge 1. Ice, Fire, Dual Attributes. All the powerhouses were shocked when they saw Li Lingtian's footprints. 2 attributes were very normal, because the experts present did not have 2 attributes. They were all 1 main and 1 auxiliary. However, the attributes they possessed complemented each other and would not conflict at all. On the other hand, Li Lingtian's attributes were indeed innately counter to each other. Such an attribute was impossible to find in the divine martial continent, yet Li Lingtian had such an attribute. This was beyond their imagination. A heaven-defying expert who controlled the opposing attributes. For a moment, they were shocked by Li Lingtian's 2 attributes. They watched as Li Lingtian arrived at the top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Is this token something you can fight for? A mere second sky of the martial saint realm wants to fight for this token? He's simply courting death. You're courting death. You have no right to fight for this token here. How dare you behave atrociously in front of me? Damn it. Seeing that Li Lingtian was already in front of the token, all the powerhouses reacted and were instantly enraged. A destructive aura erupted in the air as all the powerhouses attacked Li Lingtian. More than 200 powerhouses glared at Li Lingtian. The air crackled, and the invisible pressure almost tore the space apart. Swoosh! At that moment, a destructive attack was launched. Its target was Li Lingtian, who was on top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. The destructive attack had created a hole in the dimension. If the attack had hit Li Lingtian, it would have vanished into thin air. You're courting death. However, when this attack appeared, another wave of air-piercing power blasted out. The tearing force ignored the distance between them and directly hit the previous attack. Rumble! With a loud explosion, the attack disappeared after the collision. However, the power of the air was directed at the martial god expert who had launched the attack. The power of tearing through the air was locked by divine sense, leaving no chance for anyone to dodge. Moreover, its speed and strength were terrifying to the extreme, giving no chance for anyone to react at all. When the miserable cry sounded, the life force of the martial god expert who had just attacked disappeared. All of this happened in an instant, and a martial god expert died. All the experts were curious. They weren't curious about the death of the martial god, because even a first-layered heaven martial god would be killed in front of a third-layered heaven martial god. However, they were curious about the first firmament martial god's attack on Li Lingtian. They were curious that someone had stepped forward to stop him. Who else is not convinced? Stand out for this young master. Lin Zhirong walked out step by step, his gaze sweeping across all the powerhouses. Third Firmament War God. Terrifying metal type. Coupled with the fire type, his strength and methods were terrifying to the extreme. All of a sudden, everyone trembled under the sharp gaze. Only a few top-notch experts were slightly better, and their expressions were calm. Seventh young master of the Lin family. Someone recognized Lin Zhirong and exclaimed in surprise. He did not expect the seventh young master of the Lin family to help Li Ling Tian, a second heaven martial saint warrior. Swoosh. Those who want this token, come up. Lin Zhirong's figure flashed and he appeared in the air. He looked at all the experts and said coldly. This action and standing position were obviously meant to protect Li Ling Tian. Swoosh. Bei Minxue also flew up and arrived not far from Lin Zhirong. She looked at the experts below with her beautiful eyes. He was extremely worried. After all, he was taking a risk now. Facing so many experts was still stressful. If the experts below made a move, she could disappear at any time. However, there was nothing she could do at this point because she could not stand by and watch Li Ling Tian be destroyed. The genius daughter of the Baiming family, one of the 10 great fairies of the divine continent, Bei Mingxue. Bei Mingxue's appearance was recognized by someone else. After hearing the names of Bei Mingxue and Lin Zhirong, countless experts were shocked beyond words. They looked at the two people in the sky. They were all curious. The Baiming family and the Lin family were the top 10 families of the divine continent. They didn't expect that both families were with this young man. They wondered who this young man was. Don't fight for this token. It won't do you any good. Bei Minxue was recognized by the others. She spoke in a cold voice. As expected, Fairy Bing Shan's reputation wasn't spread around. There was a trace of fear and dread on her face behind the veil. Seeing that the Lin family and the Baiming family had stopped, all the experts fell silent for a moment. Although Bei Minxue and Lin Zhirong couldn't represent their families, they were the geniuses of their families. If they were provoked by others in the Black Continent, the family would lose face. Naturally, they would not stand idly by. The experts present were not afraid of their strength, but they were afraid of the families behind them. Li Ling Tian ignored all of this as he hovered above Xiaoyao Immortal Palace with a smile on his face. In fact, it was not on the top of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. It was just on a plaque in front of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Li Ling Tian was shocked when he saw a palace with a radius of 10 miles. He had no idea what was inside the palace as it was blocked by a layer of mysterious clouds above the palace. Standing on top of the card, he could only see the mist above Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. He could not see anything else. Li Ling Tian did not mind that if the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was seen clearly, it was not Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. Instead, he looked at the token in front of him. The token was scarlet, and the aura on it was slightly different from the other tokens. As a super array master, his array cultivation was close to the level of a god array master. Naturally, the expert who saw through this token was definitely the array core of the 99 tokens. However, he didn't dare to touch it now. Although the token was floating, it had a mysterious attraction. He couldn't touch it casually. He could only look at it carefully. Divine Array Diagram. Sacrifice. After an unknown period of time, the powerhouses below looked at Lin Zhirong and Li Ling Tian who were in the air and Li Ling Tian who was on the plaque. Seeing Li Lingshan's solemn expression instead of moving, everyone felt that Li Ling Tian was putting on an act. However, at that moment, Li Ling Tian activated his divine consciousness and a stream of light flashed between his brows. A formation diagram appeared before him. The divine array diagram emitted a powerful golden light, and traces of mysterious array patterns flickered. At this moment, all the experts finally understood that this young man was not deliberately putting on an act. He was a powerful array master. For an array Dao master to treat a token so seriously, there must be something strange about this token. All of a sudden, everyone was staring at Li Ling Tian seriously. This token might be the key to entering the Xiaoyao Celestial Palace. CC. Chi, one after another, he cast a spell and struck the divine array diagram. The divine array diagram emitted a dense golden light. The dazzling light became stronger and stronger, and it continuously emitted waves of sounds. Li Lingtian looked at the divine array diagram and the token as he tried to make contact with the token with his divine consciousness. However, when his divine sense came into contact with the token, his divine sense was bounced back by a layer of mysterious object. Left with no choice, he could only slowly press the array towards the token. The golden radiance was imbued with a mysterious formation. When Li Lingtian cast his final incantation gesture, the golden radiance of the formation landed on the token. Whoosh! A mysterious halo burst out. The halo was boundless. In the blink of an eye, the entire Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was covered by this halo, and the entire Xiaoyao Immortal Palace continued to change. It became incomparably huge, just like the previous island. Moreover, it had formed an independent world. Sensing this change, Li Lingshan's entire body was suspended in midair while the plaque continued to expand. Yes! With a light shout, he grabbed with one hand and put away the divine array diagram. At the same time, an invisible force grabbed the token. The token had triggered the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace and there was no longer any array formation on it, so Li Lingtian took it away easily. Swoosh! His figure flashed and arrived beside Lin Zhirong and the other man before landing on the ground. At this moment, the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was several times larger than before, and the five-colored halo on it was even more intense. It was like a colorful cloud that enveloped the entire Immortal Palace. It was only when Li Lingtian returned to the surface that all the powerhouses reacted. Moreover, when Li Lingtian left the plaque, the palace gate in front of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace was already open. However, there was a rainbow bridge in front of the palace gate. All the experts understood that if they wanted to enter Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, they had to pass through the five-colored halo and cross the rainbow bridge. There would definitely be destructive existences in other places. Chi-chi, 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 chi-chi. The spiritual energy in the air was constantly being absorbed, making a sizzling sound. Some mysterious auras were turned into nothingness by the five-colored halo in the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. At this moment, a martial god expert waved his hand, and a stream of true essence was sent toward the passageway above the rainbow bridge. However, when this attack arrived in front of the halo, it was reflected back before it could enter the passageway. The power of the rebound was even more violent and powerful than before, directly blasting the martial god expert flying. Seeing this, all the experts were extremely shocked. It turned out that this Xiaoyao Immortal Palace had not really opened. However, those who didn't get the token felt a little relieved because they didn't get the token and still had time to fight for it. Boom! Following that, more than 200 experts began to fight. Over 200 experts started killing each other. Only after killing each other would they have the chance to find the token on each other and take it for themselves. Li Lingtian stood in the distance while Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue unleashed their true origin. Their eyes were focused on the battlefield as they were worried that the other powerhouses would set their sights on them. However, they were still thinking too much. Lin Zhirong could be considered one of the three most powerful existences here. Bei Minxue was also from the Baiming family, so they didn't dare to provoke her. He would rather risk his life elsewhere than have any thoughts about Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue. With the two of them protecting Li Lingtian, it was impossible for him to have any thoughts about Li Lingtian. Chapter 860. Selling the Token, 1. Over 200 experts started fighting, and the entire island floating in the air seemed to be about to collapse. However, other than Li Lingtian and the other two, there were other third heaven martial god powerhouses who no one dared to provoke. After all, in this place, no one dared to provoke a third firmament martial god expert. Moreover, they had already obtained the token from the start, so they naturally wouldn't fight for it. Boom! Bang! Chi-chi! The countless voices in the air fused together. For a moment, the entire island was in chaos, and destructive energy shot in all directions. One by one, super experts died here. However, when they saw the experts die, not only did these experts not stop, but they became even more anxious as if their eyes were red. As Li Lingtian watched the battle between these powerhouses, he calculated in his heart. He already had 50 tokens in his hands. In addition, there were more than 10 third firmament war gods here, so everyone had tokens in their hands. In other words, the other 200+ experts were fighting for more than 20 tokens. As he thought about it, a smile appeared on his face. Subsequently, Li Lingtian retreated and found a place to meditate and rest. He completely ignored the powerhouses. Bei Minxue and Lin Zhirong did not say anything either. Instead, they followed Li Lingtian to the side to rest. Seconds passed, and countless experts died. Some people obtained the token, but those who obtained the token had to worry about other experts joining forces to snatch it. At this moment, a voice sounded. Isn't it just a token? Is there a need to fight until your head is bleeding? After this voice appeared, countless experts almost went berserk. One had to know that this token was the key to entering the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. It was simply infuriating to hear someone say such words. All the experts looked at the person who spoke. After seeing the person who spoke, they were all shocked. This person was none other than the second sky of the Martial Saint realm, who had obtained the token on the plaque of Xiaoyao Immortal Palace. He was the young man protected by Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue. For a moment, the experts who were fighting stopped. They did not know what this young man was up to. This was not because of Li Lingtian, but because of Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue who stood behind him. My luck is not bad. I got a few tokens. As long as you are willing to pay 20 billion low-grade spirit stones, you can get these tokens. With a faint smile on his face, Li Lingtian looked at the powerhouses who were engaged in the battle. Following which, 3 to 4 tokens appeared in his hand. At this moment, tokens were completely treasures in the eyes of experts. A token worth 20 billion? Why don't you go rob them? That's right. Hand over the token and you can leave this place. You want to use the token to exchange for spirit stones? Dream on. All right, 20 billion low-grade spirit stones. I want one. I want a piece. I want one too. I want one of them. Isn't it just 20 billion low-grade spirit stones? In an instant, countless powerhouses were shocked. They did not expect Li Lingtian to sell his token for money. Many experts were in an extremely tense mood. 20 billion was an astronomical figure even for the martial god. However, the experts who came here were all super experts. They were either the overlords of a region or represented a family or force. Using 20 billion to buy a token was better than risking his life to fight for it. At once, a few powerhouses approached Li Lingtian and took out their spiritual stones. However, he didn't dare to go near it, lest others think he had bad intentions. Tossing the spiritual stone over from afar, Li Lingtian reached out with one hand and handed the storage pouch to Bei Minxue who was beside him. Bei Minxue was startled. She immediately sent her divine sense into her storage pouch to count the spirit stones. Lin Zhirong and Bei Minxue finally understood that Li Lingtian was using these tokens to sell for money. The tokens were a form of experience. By exchanging tokens for spiritual stones, they could gain experience points. It was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. In the end, the two of them were impressed by Li Lingtian's approach. He had his reasons for everything and was always calculating for his cultivation base and resources. All right, this token is for you. After Bei Minxue nodded, Li Lingtian tossed the token in his hand toward the martial god powerhouse who gave the spiritual stones. The other 3 martial gods imitated the previous martial god and prepared the spirit stones before tossing them to Bei Minxue. They treated Bei Minxue as Li Lingtian's lackey and Bei Minxue glared at Li Lingtian. If anyone dares to fight for the token that I have taken out, I will make them regret coming to this world. After Li Lingtian sold the 4 tokens, he looked coldly at the other powerhouses who were eyeing him covetously as he spoke indifferently. His voice was not loud, but it reached the ears of all the experts. I still have a token here. If you want to get a token, you can exchange it with spirit stones. Looking at the other experts who did not get the token, their eyes revealed regret because they did not have the time to buy it. Li Lingtian opened his mouth again when he saw the situation. At the same time, he took out a few tokens. I want a piece. Count me in. Instantly, more than 10 martial gods spoke at the same time, worried that the other martial gods would take the lead like they did in the beginning. However, after they spoke, they looked at Li Lingtian. They did not know how Li Lingtian would deal with this as more than 10 martial god powerhouses had asked for their tokens. However, they were puzzled by the smile on Li Lingshan's face. 20 billion for one piece. Pay the spirit stones first, then the token. Li Lingtian said lightly with a smile in his eyes. This situation shocked countless powerhouses. Li Lingtian was so calm. Could it be that he had more than a dozen tokens in his hands? If Li Lingtian were to obtain a dozen or so tokens here, it would be a miracle. Actually, among the experts fighting here, other than the third sky of the War God realm, none of the other experts knew who had the command medallion. They could only kill the person and search through their bag of holding. Often, they would die in vain and not have the command medallion in their hands. With so many tokens in Li Lingshan's possession, how many powerhouses had died here in vain? I hope you can take out the token after I give you the spirit stones. I can't return the spirit stones I gave you. It's best if you take out the token. Instantly, the dozen martial god realm experts threw their storage pouches to Bei Minxue. They were all filled with spirit stones. Anyone who could take out 20 billion spiritual stones at once was a heaven-defying expert. A martial god expert was either a supreme elder of a superfamily or an overlord of a region. Bei Minxue kept the dozen storage bags and checked the spirit stones inside with her divine sense. In the end, he nodded at Li Lingtian, indicating that there was no problem with the spiritual stones. Li Lingtian looked at Bei Minxu's appearance and with a flick of his divine consciousness, he swept his hand across the air and a dozen tokens flew toward each of them. Seeing this, all the experts were dumbfounded. It was as if Li Lingtian was performing magic. Casually taking out more than 10 tokens, this was too terrifying. The experts who obtained the token all scanned it with their divine senses and found that the token was not fake. Only then did they feel slightly relieved. He stood at the side with the token in hand. As Li Lingtian had said that anyone who purchased the token would be protected, no one dared to fight for the token. Even if they did not trust Li Lingtian, they had to trust Lin Zhirong who stood behind Li Lingtian. At that moment, the 19 powerhouses who had obtained 19 tokens from Li Lingtian withdrew from the battle. The rest of the powerhouses were looking at Li Lingtian, waiting for him to take out his token again. Although he felt that it was impossible, he was still looking forward to it. Since Li Lingtian had already taken out 19 tokens, he would keep 3 for himself. It was already heaven-defying for a person to have 22 tokens. This was only because Lin Zhirong was like this. If he took out another token, it would be too terrifying. It seems that you also want me to take out the token again. I will not disappoint you. There are still 28 tokens here, but each token costs 30 billion spirit stones. Li Lingtian had a smile on his face. At this moment, he was not afraid of anything. He took out all the tokens. 28 tokens floated in front of him, flashing with a mysterious light. Hush whoosh instantly, all the experts were stunned and there was an uproar. Countless powerhouses gasped. They did not expect Li Lingtian to have so many tokens. He took up more than half of the total number of tokens. Those with tokens can step forward and come over here. The battle will end here. If anyone dares to make a move, I will be the first to eliminate them. Li Lingtian continued as he looked at the other powerhouses. There were still more than 20 tokens in their hands. As long as these powerhouses came out, there was no hope for them to compete. In this way, no one would dare to attack him. All of a sudden, he would rope in all the power to his side. Even if they did not help him, they would not oppose him. His tone was extremely domineering, causing the dozen or so third firmament war gods to feel shocked and extremely displeased. However, now that they had lost their advantage, they felt a slight fear of Li Lingtian. Because this person's scheming was too terrifying. He calculated step by step. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh. Immediately, a dozen martial god powerhouses and a few martial saint powerhouses flew out and joined the powerhouses who were purchasing tokens from Li Lingtian. In this situation, the experts on the other side were all experts without tokens. They dared not compete for the token now. The only way to obtain it was to purchase it from Li Lingtian. The atmosphere in the air was extremely strange. All the powerhouses were shocked and they looked at Li Lingtian with fear. Not to mention his cultivation, just this scheme alone was enough to make people feel afraid. He actually pulled everyone to the side, leaving the others with no chance to compete at all. The dozen third firmament martial god powerhouses were also wary of Li Lingtian. He had already made up his mind to kill Li Lingtian if he was alone. Otherwise, this person would be too terrifying in the future. Bei Mingxue and Lin Zhirong's opinion of Li Lingtian had changed even more. Previously, he knew that Li Lingtian was a heaven-defying genius. Now, he could not help but admire Li Lingshan's scheming. Every step was meticulously planned. Fortunately, Li Lingtian was one of them. If he was an opponent, he would have to help Li Lingtian count the money if he was sold. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.